The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up, take command. Of course, I'm Commander-in-Chief Louie T. Thank you for joining me. My fault, my apologies, my deepest apologies. I was supposed to be taking a quick little power nap. I went to sleep. The alarm went off. They're supposed to wake me up at noon. I was like, oh, okay, I can do about 5 more minutes. 5 minutes turned into an hour. Y'all know how that go. So my fault, man. I woke up. I was like, damn, that was a long 5 minutes. I looked at my phone and said 1 o'clock. I was like, damn. Heart beating fast. I jumped out of the bed. Okay, you get it. So my apologies to anybody that, was here at 12. I was ready. Everything was set up. That's, yeah. The nap got the best of me. Anyhow, how was your weekend? I hope your weekend was outstanding. Again, hope everyone's Mother's Day was fulfilling. And I told you we'd be back, after the weekend. And my goal was actually to come home last night and, talk about rookie minis and all of that good stuff. And I just didn't have it in me last night. Once I got home, I was done. I didn't have anything left to give. But today is a new day. And the Commanders are, there's so much to talk about right now. This is going to be a very eventful week. Once upon a time, the schedule didn't matter, right? It was something that we didn't, as fans, didn't even know when they were going to do, right? Release. It was random. There was no build up to it. You just woke up one day and bam, pieces of the schedule started being released, or bam, the whole schedule was just dropped on your head and, oh, there's the schedule. Then it became, pieces of the schedule get leaked. Then all of a sudden, NFL Network is like, well, shit, we need to take advantage of it. People are excited about this. We're going to make this a day. And then it was 8 o'clock. And the next thing you know, it's now turned into a almost, half a week thing. They're releasing bits and pieces today, tomorrow. You'll get some things on Wednesday leading up to 8 o'clock when the entire schedule is released. So once again, the NFL has gotten us. They've taken a regular event, something that shouldn't be a big deal, and they've milked it, stretched it, and turned it into a massive deal. And here we are, like the suckers we are, eating it up. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. I want to talk about the Commanders rookie minis and just how excited I am to see some of these guys out there running around, hearing some of the things that we've heard about some of these young players so far. Dan Quinn spoke yesterday, Saturday, excuse me. So did Trey Amos, our second-round pick. So did our first-round pick, Josh Connolly Jr. We heard from Jaylen Lane, on little, sidebar scrums. Same thing with Sean Taylor's brother, Gabe. And the Commanders signed a player, which I thought was like not going to happen. And, I've been making a big deal. I don't know if you guys have realized, but I've been making a big deal out of the rosters now at 90, right? So, and the reason I kept bringing it up is because I'm like, if you want to start sniffing around the transactional, realm, so to speak, and you want to start seeing tea leaves falling, or you want to start to guess as to what's about to transpire, sometimes the way that they move about their transactions will give you insight as to what they're about to do. So I made a big deal about the 90-man roster already being, complete. And if they want to make a move, there has to be a subsequent transaction that matches the one that they're about to make. So, case in point, Tyree Phillips, former third-round pick back in 2019, 2020 of the Baltimore Ravens. We talked about him. Remember, I went through the list of players that were invites. And I said, this is an interesting list because there were some veterans, NFL veterans from like 2017 or 2018, 2019, 2020 on that list. Trent Irwin and Tyree Phillips and Ross Blacklock and all those guys that were being invited. And, even to a lesser degree, again, they had to run camp, which is why they invited a quarterback. So, it wasn't a big deal. They already had one there in Shaquille, but they needed another guy so they could conduct practice, which is why they invited the former Pitt quarterback that had all those interceptions, the 5 interceptions in the first half versus the Chargers. So, but there were some interesting names up there. Anyway, Tyree Phillips ultimately caught the organization's eye. The offensive line coach must have been really, thrilled with what he saw from him, movement skills wise, power. You should see the individual drills, and they must have felt like, hey, this is a guy we want to continue to work with. He may be an asset to us. So apparently, the entire division's running a G on Tyree Phillips. He has been bouncing between the Eagles and the Giants practice squad the last 2 years, bouncing around. Now he's here in Washington, more likely than not on our practice squad this year. We'll see. Again, he's getting an opportunity. This can mean something. This can mean nothing, right? But it's rare to see a tryout, an invitee boot someone off the actual 90-man roster that they're going to take to camp. But that is, in fact, what they did. So one of the offensive linemen that was here last year that we talked about, there were 2 guys that were, and maybe that was somewhat ominous. And I probably should have took it as such when I looked at the list. And I just thought maybe, it's another opportunity for these guys who, didn't get any run last year to get more work, to get even more acclimated. But I should have probably taken it as, this is your last chance to show us that you belong here, because we got these young guys coming in from this class that we want to take a look at. And if they outshine you, your job might be going to someone else. And so one of those guys was the tackle, Dankwa, who I talked about as a guy that I would like to see develop potentially. He's a big guy, 6'7", 330 from Howard, and they brought him in last year, and who knows what he could be. Well, they moved on from Dankwa, right? And let's go to the transaction wire real quick, and I'll read you the report, the release from the Commanders. So this is the release they put out. The Washington Commanders have signed veteran offensive tackle Tyree Phillips to their roster. He was previously one of the players team brought in for a tryout during rookie minicamp. Phillips, a 3rd-round pick by the Baltimore Ravens in 2020, has appeared in 47 games with 28 starts. He was most recently a member of the New York Giants in 2024 and played in 3 games with 1 start, which came during the season finale against the Philadelphia Eagles. Phillips started his career at East Mississippi Community College before committing to Mississippi State. He was a rotational player at the beginning of his stint with the Bulldogs, but started the entire 2019 season. Phillips spent 2 seasons with the Ravens and was released ahead of the 2022 season. He spent the next 3 years moving between the Giants and Eagles as a member of their practice squads. So Tyree Phillips has been added to the mix here with the Commanders. But in order to make space for him, and we had talked about this on several occasions, that if you're going to add someone because the roster was at 90, now you have to make a corresponding move. So the thought process there was, okay, they're going to release some sort of offensive lineman. And it doesn't have to be a parallel move. They could have made a move by releasing a wide receiver off the roster to make space for the tackle. It didn't have to be tackle for tackle or offensive lineman for offensive lineman. But they moved on from Aneem Dankwa, as I mentioned. Not a surprise. He was a 2nd-year guy, and that's part of the reason that they probably had him at this rookie mini. Same thing could be said for the running back out of Arizona last year that I was a massive fan of. He was there as well. I think those were the only 2 2nd-year guys, I believe. Maybe there was one or 2 more. but those are the ones that stuck out to me. And then Trey Rucker, the safety that I told you about as the UDFA from this year, that I said was a tackling machine, but he was slow as molasses. He didn't run a 40, yada, yada, yada. I was like, he doesn't necessarily fit what the Commanders are looking for from a tool standpoint, from a traits standpoint. They like speed. They like guys. I mean, again, if you're going to be an undrafted guy, you have to have some sort of traits that attract this team to you. He didn't have that, and he refused to run the 40 for a reason. And, the biggest thing, that was working against him is speed. Well, you're not going to see his physicality. You're not going to see the superpower that Trey Rucker has at a minicamp, because his superpower is tackling, getting guys on the ground, right? Well, you're not going to see that in a minicamp. So if I bring him in here and I watch him move around, he's not going to look like the rest of the guys out there. And that's why I think he got cut. They got him out there on the grass and they saw him and they were like, okay, there's not much to this guy. And so the only reason that that's relevant is because now there's an extra roster spot available. And they cut a safety. Now, the prevailing thought would be, if they were going to keep Gabe Taylor, why not sign him when they signed Tyree Phillips? Good point. Great question. And I totally understand that logic, but they don't have to rush on anything. They don't have to accelerate the process of signing someone, of retaining anyone. And I told you, not just this workout and the immediate aftermath of it is going to determine whether a guy is here or not. Now, they were really smitten, obviously, with Tyree Phillips and what he was able to do at the rookie mini, and thus gave him an opportunity to be here. Now, he could easily be here for 3 weeks, and then right as we break from our final mini camp, or our final OTA rather, in phase 3, they cut him, right? Or they could get to camp, see someone out there that got released by another team, and cut him and go get another guy, right? Anything could transpire, but he's here now. He's the 89th player of 90. There's still one spot left after they released 2 players. Now, again, the prevailing thought is they moved on from a safety. Why not plug in a new safety? That's why it feels like Gabe Taylor has a shot. I can tell you from what I've heard from people is that they were really impressed with what he was able to do. Now, being impressed with the guy doesn't mean you're going to get an opportunity. It just means, hey, we were, expecting one thing, or maybe weren't expecting much. We got a little bit more. Intrigued. It could easily be something, I know this sounds very frivolous. It's something like what the old organization would do, but never put it past the NFL to be, and that includes us. We're part, our franchise that we, cheer for is a part of the NFL. Never put it past the NFL to take a storyline that's a good one, like Gabe Taylor. I don't see this organization doing this, but you just never know. I wouldn't put it past anyone. You see that today and this week is sort of a big deal with the whole schedule release. They did open up another roster spot. It's just sitting there. Gabe Taylor isn't going anywhere, right? This could be as simple as them saying, hey, we want to wait for all of this, schedule stuff to kind of happen. Don't want to step on its toes, and we don't want that stepping on our toes of something that's going to get a lot of you saw what happened when it was formally announced, when the team formally put out the list of invitees and Gabe Taylor's name was on it. All of a sudden, ESPN's running with it like it's this, massive deal. It's one of the headlines on their website. If you go to the news column, it's like the third thing from the top when the list was first put out on Thursday. And I'm like, we knew about this for over a week, possibly 2. Like, as soon as the draft was over, we knew Gabe Taylor was coming here. There was a little bit of, conflicting reports as to whether he was going to be signed to the Philadelphia Eagles, UDFA group, or you know, if he was working out with them or if he's going to Baltimore with the Ravens, and all of ultimately all of that was sorted out, and he chose Washington. He had other opportunities for tryouts. I don't think he had an opportunity. He wasn't turning down an actual UDFA with guaranteed money and a guaranteed, you know, trip to training camp. He wasn't turning that down to come work out and try out for the Commanders, but he had other tryout opportunities, including Philadelphia and Baltimore, and he chose here, for obvious reasons. That said, it became a big deal. And generally, you don't see a guy that gets an invite to a minicamp. He was not on the roster. He was not a UDFA. He's not someone that's going to get a trip to the training camp 90-man roster, right? He's just a guy that's getting an invite to try out. They were swarming around this kid on those little dust-ups after practice, the media dust-ups, the little media scrums where they just, a couple people might run over to a random player, stick a mic in his face. And, you know, if you are one of those players that, you know, wants to talk, somebody comes over and they're interested to talk, you're like, oh, shit, me? Like, cool. I'll answer a few questions, no doubt, right? Well, generally, like, nobody went over and bothered Robert McDaniel. I'm pretty sure maybe one, you know, publication might have went over there and asked him a question, but nobody was bothering Robert McDaniel. You know, nobody was bothering Ale Cajo, right? But these are guys that already have a ticket to training camp as a UDFA who's gotten guaranteed money. Nobody was bothering those people. Every media member was around this kid. So there's intrigue, right? There's a storyline. They cut a safety. I know that they were somewhat impressed with him. There's an extra roster spot left, and that extra roster spot could be for an edge rusher. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to jump to conclusions here, but clearly, and it could be just as simple as we didn't like what we saw from Trey Rucker. We have no intent on signing anybody or filling that spot with any one particular person right now. We just know Trey Rucker doesn't deserve it. It can be as simple as that, where we had, and that's why I talked about, like, these camps and these OTAs give coaches a chance. They can tell right away who can and who can't, right? At least not in my system, not for what we're looking for. He might be able to play for some other team in the NFL and might be really solid contributor. Guys get cut all the time. Guys get passed over all the time that ultimately end up being really good players. James Harrison got cut like 13 times before he finally latched on with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he got cut by the Steelers like 3 or 4 different times. So shit happens, right? You're not always going to hit on guys. But they know what they're looking for. And they can tell very quickly, okay, this is a guy that can fit in here, you know, athletically, he's what we're looking for. Or they can say, no, this guy can't cut it. That's what they did with Trey Rucker. And so it could easily just be a Trey Rucker thing when they go, he's not it. Wanted to take a closer look at this kid. He hadn't run a 40, so we didn't know athletically how he was going to actually pan out. We want to see for ourselves with our own eyes that this kid fits, and they might have said, no, we're good. Or he could have had an injury, and that injury was one that they just weren't willing to wait on, and they just said, it's not worth it, and they cut bait with him. And this could be strictly a Trey Rucker thing, and has nothing to do with Gabe Taylor, has nothing to do with adding an edge rusher, has nothing to do with a particular player in mind when they made that cut. He just wasn't it. But if that's the case, and then I go back to this, if that's the case, it would have been easy to just cut bait with Trey Rucker, sign Tyree Phillips, and go on about your business and keep the roster at 90. You didn't have to cut Aneem Dankwa. Or they could have felt the same way about Dankwa as they did Rucker. He's not a fit here, so why waste time? Let's just get rid of both of them at once. Kill 2 birds, 1 stone, and now we got 1 roster spot available, and we'll fill it when we feel the need to do so. Another quick sidebar conversation from Rookie Minis that has nothing to do with any of the rookies or the young guys that we brought in here. Terry McLaurin was at a charity event, and Ben Stadig The Athletic had an article where someone caught up with him. I want to say it was Ben. And we see this in every sport, right? Players in the offseason have their charity events. They have their, things that they have. And, members of the media, if it's local and it's in town, which a lot of times they are, because a lot of times players don't actually live in the city that they play in, but they do their local charity events in the city that they play in, because that's the point of doing charity, and helping give back to the community that supports you as a player. So oftentimes, and I see this in basketball all the time, being a Grizzlies fan, I know Ja Morant has a lot of events, and media members will go and they'll ask questions if he's dealing with some kind of injury at the end of the season prematurely. How's the rehab process going? Where are you? And he'll give them an update then, right? And we see it all the time in all sports. And so Terry had a charity event. He was willing to speak with the media. And one of the questions that was asked of him was, hey, where are you guys on a contract extension? And I told you Terry was here in good faith earlier in the offseason, but there's no such thing as good faith with a contract. I got to know something. You got to communicate with me. And I know you see what's going on in Cincinnati with Trey Hendrickson. A quote came out today that there's still been no communication between he and the Cincinnati Bengals. He said, and the offers that they have given us were way below the value that we talked about. Should I continue to play at a high level, which, again, I was one of the sack leaders in the NFL again last season. So we know that's not up for debate. We talked about specific numbers and where the number, probably should start around, and they're not even close. And we haven't had any other contact with them since they lowballed me. And that was probably back in like February. And he's like, it's getting to the point now where it's disrespectful. And that's how the Bengals do business, right? And, I'm just glad that we don't conduct ourselves that way. It's hard to get players to trust you when you conduct business in a manner that's consistent with teams like Cincinnati. But I talked about Courtland Sutton on the podcast showing up to Denver Broncos OTAs and looking for a new deal. But last year, Courtland Sutton sat out of OTAs because he was looking for a new contract. This year, it's a little bit different frame of mind. And he's had conversations and they've told him, we're going to take care of you. So now I'm going to show up in good faith because we had a conversation and we had communication and you say you're going to take care of me and I believe you. I think Terry McLaurin had the same thing. And I didn't have any proof at the time, but I said, Terry's showing up in good faith here because we remember the last time he had a contract. And remember, I didn't have all the specifics, and I appreciate every one of you out there that kind of tried to fill in the blanks of what I talked about with Terry the last time, because I don't remember exactly how it went down, but I remember Terry holding out of certain activities until he got his money, and rightfully so. I thought it was OTAs, and people were like, yeah, Terry showed up for OTA like number, I think it was 3 that he came to, but then sat out of and didn't participate in. I thought it was something like that. Whatever it was, whether it was he came and he sat out, or he didn't come at all, or he came and he left early. We know Terry showed his frustration with not getting a contract by not participating. And again, rightfully so. This year, new regime, new organization, basically, new way of doing things. They take care of their own. They've talked to Terry and they told him they're going to take care of him. And Terry said in his interview, or the little, quick little interview he had with, I want to say it was just Ben Standing, but it could have been someone else of the Athletic. But he said to them, I trust the organization. We've had conversations and we're working towards getting something done. So, and I'm paraphrasing, but that was essentially the sentiment was, yeah, we've talked, there's been dialogue, we're working towards something. I'm confident that something will get done. And you can see that in his demeanor. There's been really no conversations about, only other than us, right? Really hasn't been any big conversation about Terry's deal because everyone just assumes it's going to get done. And I think it's a really good assumption to make. And I feel even more confident that, and I've always told y'all, I think it's July. I told you what, I had a conversation with my wife. My wife asked me last week, when is Terry's deal getting done? And without hesitation, I told her July. I told you guys July back in January. back in February and in March. Oh, don't worry about Terry. He'll get his extension. It's coming in July. I think that's going to happen. I could be wrong. I would love them to get this thing done the day after the schedule is released on Thursday. I would love for them to say, all right, that's out of the way. Now let's get Terry's deal done. I don't see that happening, but that's nor here nor there. Now, let's talk about rookie minis and things that we heard, some of the biggest takeaways from rookie minis. I want to start with Josh Connolly, and I guess we'll just go in the order of all of the draft picks because, we heard things and saw, pictures and videos of, most of the draft picks out there on the field. And so let's start with Josh Connolly. I heard, and as you probably heard the same thing, that he was ultra impressive in these rookie minis. The movement skills, the quickness, and that shit is on tape. Like, I mean, what these rookie minis are supposed to be is, for most guys, if we spent a draft pick on you, it's supposed to be confirmation of your athleticism, your movement skills, because you're not going to see physicality, right? Because there is no contact, right? You want to see smarts because this is the first time they're getting exposure to your playbook and the things that you want to do schematically. So you want to see them be taught in the classroom, take what they were taught inside and take it outside when they touch grass, right? And be able to execute without making mistakes. Now, mistakes are going to happen, as DQ said, and we're going to talk about DQ's press conference. We're going to talk about Josh Connolly's press conference. We're going to talk about Trey Amos's press conference. And so, DQ said this in his press conference that, one of the big things that they're looking for is retention, right? The ability to take what you learn in the classroom and have it transfer over to the field, right? He said, look, mistakes are going to happen. That's to be expected. This is their first time in our playbook. This is the first time that, we're teaching them. And, everyone's a different learner. Obviously, you have visual learners. You have guys that learn by taking notes and then going back and reading those notes, things of that nature, guys who they learn strictly off of watching film, things of that nature. So everybody learns in a different way, or at least it's a more efficient way of them learning, right? And so you expect mistakes, but the guys that make the mistakes once and then correct it, those are the guys that coaches love, right? Because you want to be able to say, hey, he's not a repeat offender. Coaches love that. They pay attention to little stupid stuff like at the combine when somebody, they show you how to do every single drill. They take one guy, usually it's the last guy in line, right? Or some guy that might be the most notable of the group. And so they'll take him and he'll be the example guy. Normally it's the last guy because he can go through the drill, even if he has to do it at half speed, and he won't be tired by the time it's his turn to go, right? But whatever the case may be, they'll take a guy and they'll go through at half speed and they'll show them what to do, exactly what to do. And if the first guy in line makes a mistake after they just went, because after they show you, they say, anybody got any questions? And, look, we're dudes, right? We got egos. Most of us don't want to admit when we're wrong. So instead of us saying, I didn't see that, I didn't get that, coach. So after we turn this way, do we take a step left or do we just go straight? Instead of asking a question, they just say, I'm gonna figure the shit out. Then they make a mistake, and they're like, bro, did we not just show you? They get pissed off. Like the gauntlet drill, they get them all the time. When you catch the ball, you're supposed to turn over your right shoulder to flip around to catch the next ball. Dudes will catch this way and then flip over and go their left way, and they hate that, right? You just saw 3-4 dudes go in front of you, and two of them got stopped, or one of them got stopped. Not in addition to the guy that we showed you as the model, right? The example. And you still made a mistake, bro? Like, they pick up on that kind of stuff. Like, damn, did you not understand the first 2 times, the first 3 times? So part of rookie minicamps is seeing what guys can retain information, what guys don't repeat mistakes. And, Connolly was one of those guys that I heard people raving about that, there weren't a lot of mistakes. Everything was clean and efficient. He's fast. He's quick. Right, from his punch, right? I know a lot of us saw the drill with him hitting the dummies. Pop, pop. You go through footwork too, right? You want that typewriter footwork, right? Where they don't touch, where they kind of go up, go down, go up, go down, go up, go down, right? And so you go from one bag, pop, to the next one, bop, to the next one, bop, to the next one, bop. And it's just a hand placement drill, right? You're looking for a stiff, quick punch, right? 2-hand jab to the chest, bop. And you want it inside the chest plate. So it should be right up in this area, right up in here, right? Right up under the chest, bop, right? His shit was so clean and it was so effective and then and efficient. And then you saw him on the pull drills. I told you one of the things that was the most impressive watching him on tape at Oregon is when he got out and pulled. Man, was that a thing of beauty. It's quick, it's decisive, it's efficient. He's not wasting any motion. He could be a very, very big problem. It's very reminiscent of Trent Williams getting out on the pulls, right? Where you just go, man, that's like watching a gazelle out in space. That is just a thing of beauty to watch big man get out there and clear out space. And it looks very similar with Josh Connolly Jr. So they were impressed with his movement skills. They were impressed, with the quickness in which he did things and his ability to retain. And so nothing that I've heard suggests that he won't. And again, the physicality will be the thing. If there's anything that stops this kid from, excelling right away or being the starting right tackle to start the season, it'd be physicality. I don't think that's going to be an issue, right? There'll be times where, it shows up. I don't think he's going to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think it's going to be as big of a hindrance when they put the pads on and the physicality starts that he won't be able to hold up. But that'll be the only thing. It's not an athletic thing, which that's what's going to be on display here at the minicamp, right? That wasn't going to show up for him. He's going to be athletic. He's going to check all the boxes. And apparently he did exactly that. Trey Amos. So we talked about making mistakes. He made, not necessarily mistakes, but some of the ways he was going about doing some of the things, he could do it better, right? Which that's what practice is about. And, on one of the, videos you can hear, and I think this was posted by JP Finley, on one of the videos, you can hear the coach in the background yelling, "That's it, Amos. With every rep, you're getting better," right? And so that's what you want to hear. You want to see improvement. You saw the athletic profile. They saw that out there at Rookie Minis. And now you want to see intellectually, can you handle it? And I want to talk about some things that he said. He's an interesting guy. I like Trey Amos a lot. So, Amos is a guy that is going to be really fun to watch and see how he continues to develop and progress. I also want to talk about, and while we're on him, I think this also, is something that we should probably do, is have a conversation about his back. Because I want to put this to rest, right? Put it to bed. There was a lot of conversation, because this was the media's first time talking to him, right? Having a chance to really talk to him other than on draft night. Nobody's going to bring up, first of all, I don't think the media members knew about the back during the draft. Because if they did, I think it would have been one clown reporter that would have brought it up on a night where he just got drafted. Last thing he wants to talk about is that shit, right? But they didn't know about it then. But like I said, on the NFL Network draft coverage, Daniel Jeremiah said, "Can you check on any medicals with him? Because I just don't understand how he fell to 61. Now we know, some teams were concerned with his back. Cool by us, right? Clearly, our medical staff was like, nah, he's good. It might be a little something. There's nothing really to be concerned about. He's good. And yeah, they kept asking him, kept pressing him about his back. I didn't know what they expected him to say. And I guess we could kind of talk about that a little bit more during his press conference, because that, like, 2 out of the maybe 8 questions he fielded, maybe 10, were back questions. So I guess we could talk about it a little bit more when we get to him and his press conference. But he looked good. I watched a lot of cut-ups of him with reporters out there, and the things that the team has put out of him moving around, him attacking the football, him going through drills. So he looks good athletically. He's moving around. DQ talked about why they brought him in here, why they drafted him. And so we'll talk about that more when we get to DQ in his press conference. But, Trey Amos looks the part athletically, which none of us, I think, was worried about him not solidifying exactly why he was a second-round pick and potentially a steal in the draft for us. He looked the part at Rookie Minis. You go to Jaylen Lane. I think they're really excited about Jaylen Lane. And, I think what opened their eyes to Jaylen Lane a little bit more or what he's opened their eyes to is, what he can potentially be as a receiver. I think they knew, but because there just wasn't a ton of evidence watching Virginia Tech. Now, if you watched him at Middle Tennessee State, then I think you might have seen more of Jaylen Lane, the wide receiver, but he was so young then, and he wasn't playing in a Power 5 conference then, that it was easy to kind of dismiss. But he had a season where he almost had 1,000 yards receiving. So if you go back that far, which I'm pretty sure they did, you would see him more as a polished, or more as a wide receiver. I won't say polished, but more of a wide receiver threat than he was at Virginia Tech, where they just, because the quarterback position was not ideal at Virginia Tech, they had to invent ways, create ways to get him touches. And they weren't always down the field touches. So I think he has impressed them with his ability as a route runner and a guy that can, actually be a threat at the receiver position. Because, yeah, they knew he could do that. They knew he could be a receiver, right? They didn't just draft him to be a punt returner, but they felt like the biggest impact that he could have immediately was definitely as a return man. Like he could come in and bolster what was really a dead group last year. And at times, even a liability like the Steelers game, where I think they feel like he can come in here and really give the return game a shot in the arm, especially the punt return game. Again, kickoff return, I don't know what they're going to do there. I don't know if they're going to feature Jaylen Lane as the kickoff returner as well. But punt returns was his thing in college. So we'll see if he does both. But I think he opened their eyes to the ability to really help them at the receiver position. And he talked about that in one of his media scrum sessions where he said, one of my goals coming out was to, really show them that I can do everything, because, a lot of the conversation surrounding him post-draft was, man, he's really going to help us on special teams. And, somebody brought this up and said, Jaylen Lane reminds them so much of Terry McLaurin. And, there are a lot of similarities. McLaurin was a 3rd-round pick, overlooked. That person said Lane is a 4th-round pick, somewhat overlooked, right? Terry was, known to be a special teams demon, different type of special teams demon. He was more of a gunner at Ohio State, but, he was known to be a special teams threat. Jaylen Lane known to be a special teams threat, but more as a return man, but still same kind of concept, right? Same premise. And so he said there's a lot of similarities. They both wore 83 in college. McLaurin did wear 83 at Ohio State. Jaylen Lane is wearing not only 83 at the Commanders, but he wore it in college at Virginia Tech. So he's like, there's a lot of similarities. And maybe there are. Maybe there are. Maybe we keep talking about his, because that's what we did with Terry. We kept talking about Terry's special teams up until the first game of the season. Remember, he didn't play in the preseason, Terry McLaurin did. He didn't play. So we didn't know. We just thought, okay, they got this special teams dude in the 3rd round. And then Jay Gruden unleashed him. We had heard little innuendos and little things about Jay holding him out because he had a tailbone injury. Jay not wanting to expose him because he had this secret weapon week 1 against the Eagles. And boy, did he ever. McLaurin burst onto the scene and he hasn't looked back since. So maybe Jaylen Lane could be that type of guy where we are talking about special teams. And he's like on some Kanye West shit, but I rap too, right? Everybody wanted to talk about Kanye and his beats and being a producer. And they tried to treat him like he was a producer rapper. But Kanye's like, but I rap too. And he spit a verse for him, and they were like, oh, okay, that shit's tight, right? But that's it. He's like, I ain't get a record deal. Maybe, Jaylen Lane's like, but I play receiver too. Like, I catch football, I get open, I can get vertical, I can run, intermediate stuff. I can win underneath and make something happen. I do play the receiver position too. Don't forget about that. All right, bet. So he was impressive in that regard. Running routes. I saw him with a couple of nasty routes. Again, take it for what it's worth. It's rookie minis. It's 7-on-7. And, the defensive back he's playing against probably not going to be in the league, right? More likely than not. I don't care. He gave him a hell of a Sierra 1-2 step. Let me see your 1-2 step. Ba-da! And then cut inside on him. And that dude did a whole goddamn disco turn. Turn the beat around. I was like, God damn, he took his ass to the bus stop, dropped him off, left him over there. So Lane was out here showing some stuff, right? Then you get to Kane Madrano. It's pure athleticism with him, pure quickness and twitchiness. And he's, of all of the draft picks, I have zero expectations for Kane Madrano. He is the guy that he is this year's Dominique Hampton, if you ask me, right? Guy taken in late day 3 that I look at and say, I don't really know if there's run for you this year, right? It's 5 guys. It's not like last year where it was like 9, 10 dudes, where obviously we were even more wide open roster-wise last year, but you still, with all the veterans we brought in last year, and you could say the same thing about this year, it's still not going to be all this opportunity for young guys to get in here and get their feet wet. So Madrano still feels like someone that would take a red shirt this year, even though he would make the roster, take a red shirt, and then, you know, work him and then get him where they want him. And then next year, much like they're doing with Dominique Hampton this year, turn him loose. That's what Madrano feels like. I might be so far off base with this kid because his athletic profile is so ridiculous with that size and that frame that he could serve a purpose right now defensively. Right now. He can serve a purpose. His movement skills, I heard that they were super, like, blown away. And they knew he was athletically gifted. That's why they drafted him, right? This was not news to them. But I heard that the coaching staff, the linebackers coaches who didn't see him, right, just watched tape, who hadn't actually laid eyes nor hands on him, I heard that they walked away super impressed with what they were getting to work with. They see this slab of clay, and you know, obviously DQ and all of those guys, they hadn't seen Kane Madrano work out before either. Like, I think Adam Peters is very aware because he's always aware of these UCLA players, right? He even took a picture that they posted on the social media account where it said, you know, from, you know, LA to DC, you know, all the, you know, past Bruins, future Bruin, you know, right? Whatever, past Bruins, current Bruins, or whatever it said. I forgot what the post was, but it was a picture of Adam Peters with his arm around 2 UCLA guys. One was Ale Cajo, the other was Kane Madrano, right? And so it just goes to show you that that's a real thing. I mean, if the last 2 years haven't shown you that there's a true UCLA connection here because of our general manager, you're fooling yourself. There's definitely a connection. There's definitely more insight that he has on these UCLA players. And then, not to mention, and maybe this simmers down a bit, you know, maybe 2 years down the road, because you'll be further away from guys that would have had contact with someone like Ken Norton Jr., right? Because if you notice, a lot of the guys that they're at least taking a flyer on, bringing in here, are, you know, guys that were either linebackers or, you know, guys that were like at the running back position or something of that, you know, ilk. But a lot of the guys were either in the room with Ken Norton. As you can see, both Ale Cajo and Kane Madrano were both coached by Ken Norton Jr. I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think that's a coincidence at all. So maybe that had a lot to do with it this year. And then as you get further away from Ken Norton's last stint there, where he didn't coach some of these players, maybe you don't see as many of those guys getting an opportunity here. But I mean, Colson Yankov got a chance last year, and he wasn't on anybody's radar, but he was on ours because Adam Peters was familiar with him. So again, I think you're just going to see, you know, UCLA guys get a shot every year, I think, but I digress. Kane Madrano can move, man. And, you know, you could see it on a lot of the clips that we saw. I know that they felt like, wow, we may be able to do some things with this kid. And we know what DQ loves to do with undersized defenders down in the box. Again, I go back to Dallas and Marquise Bell and him being like a 205-pound safety that they had down there playing. Now, it made them a defensive liability in the run game. Yes, it did. And Cowboys fans hated that Marquise Bell was down in the box, but he also made a bunch of plays as an underneath defender. He made a bunch of plays. He was flying around. Now, again, when it came to running the football, you don't want to leave him in there because now he is a liability. He's 205 pounds, right? Most tight ends, all guards and centers, and any tackle that gets their hand on him is going to destroy him. But it's that quickness. It's its ability to slip blocks. It's the ability to win to the spot and get in the backfield and force the running back to have to maybe bow out or force the running back to have to change his path. That's what you're looking for. But really, you brought him in to be a nuisance in the pass game, right? In the short underneath pass game. Anything out on the perimeter with speed, he's going to help you be faster than the offense. Speed kills in this league, both sides of the ball. The best defenses that you see in the NFL, speed, right? At all levels. Physicality. That never goes away. That never changes. That's always going to be a thing. Speed and physicality always win in this league. So I thought we did not have enough of either last year on the defensive side. We weren't soft, not by a long shot, but we weren't as physical as we needed to be in the run game. And we were definitely lacking in the speed department. I still think we are, but we're getting better. We added speed to the secondary with Trey Amos, right? I don't know if Will Harris is that technically shit. He is an upgrade of speed. He ran a 4.43, I think, coming out of college, coming out of BC, if I'm not mistaken. So he's faster than Jeremy Chin. So we got faster in the secondary. Obviously, Jordan McGee coming back from injury and having them move Dominique Hampton, the linebacker, and him getting out. That adds speed. And then Kane Madrano obviously upgrades the speed at the position. You're faster at linebacker now. How many of those guys actually getting snaps other than Jordan McGee on game day? That's the question you got to ask yourself. The position itself is faster, but how much of that do we see on game day? McGee is going to make a world of difference because he did last year when he played. And then the D-line, look, we were a slow group last year up front. I don't know if that's changing this year. We'll see, right? Nothing they've done screams like it's still Cleveland Farrell out there. It's still Dorrance Armstrong. Not that Dorrance was a part of the problem, but it's still Dorrance Armstrong out there getting a bunch of snaps. It's still Deron Payne, who is a problem, but we just haven't seen it in 2 years, right? It's Johnny Newton. He'll be healthier next year. Full season under his belt. We'll see what that means. But, I mean, are you banking on Jacob Martin being a disruptor in a run game? Don't hold your breath. Start at the point of attack. Yeah. Dietrich Wise is excellent at that. Dietrich Wise ain't chasing nobody down sideline to sideline. So I don't know if we got faster, more athletic. I know we got stouter. Eddie Goldman ain't running, but so far, right? Eddie Goldman's a big dude. Like, we got stouter. We didn't get more athletic up front necessarily. So we'll see. But Kane Madrano definitely helps you get more athletic. That's for damn sure. That's why the perimeter runs kicked our ass last year. That had nothing to do with stout. That had everything to do with we weren't fast enough to get to the perimeter. Every team's offensive line and running backs and tight ends beat us to the perimeter, got to their blocks, got to their landmarks, sealed us off, and left a bunch of carnage in their wake, and the running back sifted through that shit and took off. The perimeter runs kicked our ass last year. No doubt about it. Anything to the perimeter, I was telling y'all from early in the season, perimeter runs scare the bejesus out of me because we cannot get out there athletically. We are not fast enough. That still could be a problem this year. But if you get better fits from your safeties, better, take-ons from your corners, and if you have, more penetration from the defensive linemen or guys that pursue better from the defensive line, who knows? We'll see. But till they clean it up, till I see the improvement, it's still a problem. Well, you get a guy like Kane Madrano You get a guy like Jordan McGee, you get a guy like Dominique Hampton, that could help shore up some of those deficiencies, as you get out there on the perimeter with all that speed. Madrano can definitely move. I think they got a vision for him. And this is why I have zero expectations of Kane Madrano this year. They may already see some dime linebacker in his future already as a rookie. I doubt it. Until I see him on the field, I feel like Kane Madrano is going to get the Dominique Hampton treatment this year. We'll redshirt you, fella. You're still a young linebacker. Remember, he's only been playing linebacker for 3 years. So he may get the, hey, we want to see you develop. We're going to continue to develop you on the practice squad, or not practice squad. He's going to on the show team, as Ron used to call them, but the scout team is what we called it. And they're going to give him that scout team work. They're going to give him, the opportunity to continue to develop, to grow, to maybe put on a little bit of weight and see what he can do next year. But I could be wrong. But they do like his athleticism. And then lastly, Jakori Merritt, Bill. Man, I know y'all seen the clips of this dude catching the ball out of the backfield. I know you saw the drill with Anthony Lynn, having them jump through the bags. Man, his agility is on a million. And like you go back, and I went back because somebody was trying to be funny, and say that are we really talking about a 7th round pick's jersey number? Is that what we've been reduced to? And I'm like, in my mind, I didn't say anything because I'm a lurker. Y'all know how I do. I saw it and I laughed, right? Because I get what he's doing. I mean, he's being dismissive of the conversation. And look, I get it. Like if, me 3 years ago would have been dismissive of, and normally with 7th round picks, I am dismissive of these types of conversations because I don't expect anything from a 6th or a 7th round pick. But he's not your ordinary average 7th round pick. Like I envision Bill being this massive contributor in year 1 as a 7th round pick. When's the last time you heard me say that and not be dismissive of a 7th round pick? We've had years where we've had 3 7th round picks and I've shit on all 3 of them. Hell, I shitted on Cam Curl when he was, I mean, he got one of the worst draft evaluations. If you go back and watch my evaluation of, I shitted on Cam Curl so bad that if he saw me, he probably and heard what I say, he probably would have wanted to punch me in my face. I was so disrespectful to Cam Curl. He turned out to be, now we later found out he had no business being there in the 7th round. That was strictly a COVID situation that didn't allow him to work out and run and do the things that if he would have done it in a normal, combine setting, he would have been no worse than a 5th round pick. Well, we found that out later, right? His whole story about the pre-draft process and how that it hurt some guys. He was one of the guys that it hurt. Because you couldn't have individual meets, top 30 visits. He would have absolutely been drafted sooner. So I shitted on him. And he turned out to be a gem. And, we had some guys along the way, James Smith Williams ended up being really solid as a 7th round pick. But normally 7th round picks, I dismiss them. So I get the conversation around, are we really having this conversation about a jersey number for a 7th round pick? He's not your average run-of-the-mill 7th round pick, bro. He's different. That's why we're trying to get him into a respectable number. And so many people have come to the defense of the number 32. It's a funny conversation. It's all the old heads, though, bringing up Marcus Allen and shit like that. Like, you know how long ago Marcus Allen played in the NFL? Like, it looked good on him, right? It did. It fit him because that's what you were used to seeing him in. I guess I want to see it, but we've seen 32 here, right? The last person to wear it on the offensive side, I think Jace Whitaker might have worn it on the defensive side last year or 2 years ago. But we all saw it here with the running back. But I said shorter running backs, 32 fits. He's a little bit taller. But, man, does he look good. Man, does he look good. The agility is crazy. I went back and watched some more of that New Mexico stuff because is that game against Texas A&M, he didn't have a great game. You know, you watch him and they really shut him down, which is what you expect the SEC school to do to a school in the Mountain West. Shut him down. But he had one run in that game where you go, whoa. You know, and you should have seen the highlights of it by now. But it's one run, it's a touchdown run where I don't know if I've ever seen a sidestep like that, like a almost like a mini jump cut, but it's so quick. It's just looked like a sidestep, but it's like just a lightning quick jump cut sideways, and then an immediate acceleration in a race to the end zone for a touchdown. And you're just like, whoa, right? But you see that kind of agility from him. He's going to be different, man. And if he and I think the biggest thing he was able to show, and at least this is what people are telling me, the biggest thing that they were looking for from him, because they know he can run the ball. Can he catch? Because he didn't catch the ball in college. Like, I think this year might have at Arizona might have been an opportunity for him to have 47 catches and really show the scouts I can catch the football, right? I don't think he was going to have that many opportunities because they had so many backs at Arizona. He's just going to be the feature back, but they had a guy to catch it out of the backfield. I don't think he was going to be that guy, and that might speak to him not being that good of a pass catcher, or, you know, not someone that you really want back there. But, you know, from the clips I saw, he looked like he was making some acrobatic catches where, you know, he had to contort his body, you know, adjust to the football. There's one where he kind of does a pirouette, spins, catches it kind of behind him. Like, he might be even more impressive as a pass catcher than they were, you know, giving him credit for. That's something you can show in these 7-on-7s. That's something you can show in the individual or indie drills. So I think he was able to showcase a little bit of that. And that'll be something that, you know, can also help him get on the field, because right now they don't view him as a third down back. You know, that's Austin Eckler's job. Rightfully so, by the way. But, you know, if he can come in and show he can catch the football, who knows what that could turn into, right? Yeah. So you got people like Jim Brown wore 32 and O.J. Simpson wore 32. Yeah, that was a dope number in the 1960s, 70s, and hell, probably even the 80s with Marcus Allen. Did Edgerrin James wear 32? I feel like Edge wore 32. That probably is the last dude, him and Maurice Jones-Drew. So I guess one dude made 32 look dope in every decade. Like, it was Jim Brown in the 50s and 60s. It was OJ in the 70s. It was 60s and 70s. It was Marcus Allen in the 80s. And then Edge probably in the 90s is my guess. Then Maurice Jones-Drew in the 2000s. I don't know if anybody made it look dope in the 2010s. From 2010 to 2019. Did any one running back make it look dope in the 2010s? Because I don't recall somebody at the running back position being 32. You go, man, yeah, that shit looks fire. I don't. Like, it kind of phased out after Maurice Jones-Drew. So somebody just brought up Franco Harris. 32 was cool back in the day. This ain't back in the day. Okay. Times have changed. So name me the last dope 32 running back. You probably got to go all the way back to Maurice Jones-Drew. That's where we at with 32. And maybe he could be the guy to bring it back. Or here's a thought. You could not. You could not. And you could find something that looks crispy and go with that instead. So we'll see, right? Anyway, I digress. So we got to talk about the schedule. So I want to kind of give you guys an update before we get to the comment section. We got to talk about the schedule. So, and it's going to transition right into DQ's presser, because I think the two are They go hand in hand, essentially. So there was a tweet out there that was floating around, and you gotta be careful. I always tell y'all, be careful out there. It's a cold world out there. It's an evil world we live in as Future. So that social media thing, be careful, because there's a lot of people out there trying to troll you, trying to get you with that aha gotcha moment. So be careful, especially when it comes to things that we are very reliant upon social media for, like the schedule release. That is something where you can get got very easily because you're looking for news instantaneously, and as fast as it's coming out, people always want to be first. So you see something, oh my God, I don't think Louie T seen this. Let me send this to him. And they got you, right? Don't be desperate to be first. Be right, right? That's the important thing. Don't be desperate to be first. Be right. So that's what ESPN learned a long time ago. They used to always want to be first on everything, right? As first reported by ESPN. That was their thing. They wanted to be first. Then they started putting out shit that was erroneous, and they started catching heat for that. They got serious backlash for being wrong. And they was like, all right, we got to make sure we vet this shit, check it twice, make sure that it's nice. And then once we get it right, it can be old as hell. We don't care. We just want to make sure we get it right. When we report it, it needs to be gospel by the time we get it. So I wasn't running, Rio as, Rio, that's my guy, that's my dog, one of the kings. Rio's on that JD Cinco. He was on that JD Cinco shit. We going to Mexico or Spain. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if we going to Spain. I said, I never said we weren't going. But I was like, John Kahn made it seem like he just couldn't see it. I don't know if I see us going to Spain. But Rio was not moving. Shout out to Rio. He was not moving off the spot. He was like, bro, we are going to Spain. And I've been telling y'all, I said, don't be shocked when this schedule comes out. And we're plastered all over this thing, all over the place. Don't be surprised. Because I already told you what I think the NFL is trying to do with Jayden Daniels. They view him as the NFC's version of Patrick Mahomes. They are going to build this season is his opportunity. Similar to Ja Morant having a chance. As a Grizzlies fan, I saw the NBA trying to make Ja Morant the face of the league. And he was well on his way until the whole gun incident happened. And that derailed all his momentum on the court and off it as well, right? He hasn't really been the same since. And the NBA they were trying to, I've never seen there be as much coverage for the Memphis Grizzlies as it was with Ja Morant. They had an NBA day centered around the Memphis Grizzlies where they followed us in-depth look at practice. They never come to Memphis for anything. Are you kidding me? It's Memphis. They wanted Ja to be the face of the league. He blew it. That ship has sailed. Now it's Anthony Edwards' opportunity if he wants it. They're going to give Jayden Daniels an opportunity to be that guy. Like, CJ Stroud was cool. He had a hell of a rookie season, but the AFC is loaded, bro. He's never going to be as good as Mahomes. There's still Burrow out there. There's still Josh Allen. There's still Lamar Jackson. It's too much heat over there. He's just another dude at the quarterback position out there. Till he wins something, till he can slay the dragon, he hasn't beaten Lamar Jackson in his career. He hasn't beaten Patrick Mahomes in his career. He has outdueled Joe Burrow. He has done that, right? And my guess is he hasn't beaten Josh Allen either. Until he starts beating those dudes, it's an uphill climb for him. There's only so high he can go in the totem pole on that side. Meanwhile, on the NFC, this shit's wide open. There's nobody over here. Like, if you want to count Matthew Stafford, he's 76 years old. Go right ahead. In the league, they're not building anything around Matthew Stafford. His time is coming past for that. And he was in Detroit and wasted all those years there, right? They're not building anything around a damn near 40-year-old quarterback. It ain't Jalen Hurts. As much as Eagles fans would love to tell you, it ain't Jalen Hurts. You ain't building shit around a dude that had less than 3,000 yards passing last year. Ain't shit flashy about his game. He's cool. He's a good quarterback. We're not building a campaign around him, though. You can't do that shit with Brock Purdy. Jordan Love is too inconsistent. It ain't nobody else over there. To be honest with you, Jared Goff ain't athletic enough. It ain't, it ain't clean with Jared Goff. Jaden Daniels is the perfect package. He got everything. He's got charisma. He's got style. He's got the substance, right? Which matters most. You can have all that shit and you can't play. Well, he's got substance. He's a runner. He's a passer. He's dynamic. And he took the league by storm. And they're going to take this opportunity. And the nation's capital is back. They're getting a stadium. They're getting the draft. Everything is coinciding at the same time. The stars have aligned. You don't think, I'm telling you, this is not an accident that all this shit is happening this offseason. Because it goes in line with what's about to happen. Spain is happening, guys. Spain is happening. Ozzy, so there's this account on X. Let me see if I can give that its proper just due. Let's see if I can track it down. I should be able to find it pretty quickly here. And so I can't find it on this page, but I've seen a lot of people posting about it. Let me see. I might be able to find it on my page. Why you bullshit? I just know it's a lot of shit on my page. I have to go back a little while, but I think I can find it. I can track it down because I know my guy. There it is. So at Ozzy NFL, and so I couldn't tell you about at Ozzy NFL from a can of paint, right? Because I'm not out here on these social media streets. It's dangerous out here, man. I'm too old for this shit. I stay in the house, right? So I let y'all have it. Y'all send me whatever y'all think is important. I just scroll down my timeline. Oh shit, okay, boop. Somebody will send it to me, right? I don't go outside too often. So apparently Ed was the one that brought this up in our group chat. It was actually Rio who brought it up in the group chat. And he was like, y'all take it with a grain of salt. I don't know this dude, Ozzy, but he's reporting this, that we're going to be in. But this is what Rio was saying. So he was showing us like, I'm telling y'all, we going to Spain against the Dolphins. And Ed was like, yo, no, Ozzy is legit, bro. Like he said, last year, Ozzy didn't miss pretty much. So I'm like, maybe we are going to Madrid. Maybe we are going to Spain. Maybe it is JD5. Maybe it is JD5, right? And so to transition, we see DQ at his press conference, and it's the first time the media has had a chance to talk to him since really the draft, right? I don't think he even spoke at the draft. I think that was all Adam Peters. So this is the first time they talked to him since like the owners' meetings, right? Maybe I know him and DQ. I think DQ and AP did a pre-draft presser, I think, together. So that might have happened like 2 or 3 days before the draft or whatever. I think they were both together for that. So, but the schedule thing had come out since then, and so they asked him about it, and he said, "Sin comentarios." And they were like, first of all, how dope is our head coach? How dope is our coach? He's got swag. He's got a way about him that's different. It's authentic. It ain't fake. Some coaches you could tell trying to be cool. Like I think Ben Johnson, he tries to be cool. He's not really cool, right? And that's okay, right? Like I can respect him coming out of his comfort zone. I can tell Ben Johnson isn't like, he's not like a super people person. That's not his personality. He's more of an introvert. But he's coming out of his shell because he's a coach and it's what he's good at. And I can respect that. But his personality is forced, it feels like. DQ is just smooth, bro. I love our coach, man. Cool ass dude, right? Hat to the back. He don't give a damn. I know that pisses some people off. I love it. That's be you. Be genuinely you, right? Hat to the back during the games, press conferences, practice, right? He's going to be authentic to himself. He doesn't veer off track. He stays consistent with his messaging. Win, lose, whatever the situation is, he don't flinch. He talk about not flinching. He loves boxing, so he uses a lot of boxing terminology and analogies. He talks about not flinching. And he didn't flinch when they asked him that. I think he was ready for that shit. He was sitting dead red fastball, and they gave him a fastball, and he crushed it. Sin comentarios. And they didn't know what to do. They were flummoxed. Oh shit, he said something in Spanish. What does that mean? You can tell they was over there. Then they were laughing because they were like, he got us. That shit was cool. It was cold-blooded. Then he had to tell them, no comment, man. That's what that means. No comment. They know we going to Madrid. They know we going to Spain. They already know. That's what that tells me. Damn, we finna have about 7 primetime games. No bullshit. We about to have 7. And that Christmas against Kansas City, Rio, right now he's batting 1,000. Because Christmas against the Chiefs feels real. It feels really, really definite right now. I can't say that, but it's feeling like a real possibility right now. Like higher than 60% chance, like 70, 75% chance. It's Chiefs Commanders Christmas Day. And I can be sold on that. I'm starting to feel that. I told Rio on the last episode of the Commanders Kings, I said, I think you're right about Christmas. I can see that. I can see that. The only thing about doing that, right, is you don't know what we're going to be. Like, what if this is a down year? What if we don't live up to the expectations and the hype and, all those close games we won last year, we lose them this year. And by the time we get to Christmas, we're not a good team. They're going to be pissed off. That's the only danger in scheduling a game of that magnitude late in the season, because you don't know what those two teams are going to be. They can't worry about that. They can only put together the best matchups to get people excited in the offseason. And then hope that those things come to fruition once the season hits. They're pushing all of their JD5 chips to the center of the table this year. And if he's able to make them right and they're able to cash out, it's on. Because they giving him, they did this for Jimmy Garoppolo. The year he got, the year after he was traded to San Francisco, and he came there in season and he went 5-0. And everybody said, oh, shit, the 49ers are back. Because, they wanted the blue bloods of the NFL. One of those teams that carried the NFL through the 80s. And, the league loves it when teams like that are good, right? So, here go the 49ers, a fan base that's been downtrodden here of late. They have a chance to be reborn again. They got excitement. Let's placate to them, right? Let's play to that. They gave the 49ers 5 primetime games that year, and Jimmy Garoppolo tore his ACL like in week 2. I think, week 3, against the Chiefs. They were asked that year. And I remember that saying, wow. And the most recent one we saw was when they went all in on Russ to the Broncos. They went all in on Russ to the – no, that's not the most recent one. They went all in on the Jets, Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. So they did it 2 years in a row. Broncos with Russ, and then Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, and both of them were duds. Our goal is to not be that. But we getting that type of treatment. Where they rolling out the red carpet for us. We going to Spain. Everyone. We're going to Spain. So get ready. Speaking of which, let's talk about DQ's press conference. As I just said, he answered the Spain question with no comment because they know we're going to Spain. Right? he talked about rookie minis. He said he couldn't sleep the night before. He was so excited. He loves this process. You know, he's like, we're not going to miss a step. That was his saying, like, and that's what he's been. That's a consistent message from DQ. That's consistent messaging. He had that with Jaylen last year. We're not going to miss a step, right? When they were talking about when is he going to be named the starter, this, that, we're not going to miss a step, right? When Johnny Newton was rehabbing and we weren't sure when we're not going to miss a step. We're not going to miss a step. And that's his consistent messaging every year. We're not going to miss a step. And this is the first step in the process. He's like, look at this as the onboarding process, right? They may have the tools and the traits we're looking for, but they don't know how to be a commander yet. Here's what it takes to be a commander. This is what we're teaching them right now. These are the tools we're giving them right now. How to be a commander. We have an identity, people. Isn't that great? Something you can latch onto and say, hey, this is how we do things. This is what we stand for. We lacked it for decades. We ain't had an identity since Gibbs 1.0 because we ain't having an identity in Gibbs 2.0. Gibbs 2.0 showed up, gave us an identity in the first 2 years, and then after he felt like his offense was antiquated, he went out and got was Al Saunders to run his offense, and it completely scrapped any identity that we were trying to formulate. We went from a smash mouth physical team in 04 and 05 to this pass happy team that was wide open that didn't stand for anything. We didn't even have an identity under Gibbs 2.0. We just found ways to, be in games, win games. We didn't have an identity other than defense with Greg Williams. You got to go all the way back to Gibbs 1.0 if you want to look for an identity, a consistent one. We have an identity established again. So that's a big part of what these rookie minis were for these guys. Onboarding process, getting you familiar with what we're looking for, how we play, how we practice, how we, embrace each other as teammates. DQ's big on, hey, you got to be a good teammate. And he talked about it. He's like, look, what are some of the things we're looking for? Can you be a good teammate? Like, we keep talking about guys like Mike Green. I told y'all, until they draft one of those types of dudes, I'm not buying it. They're too big on guys assimilating into the locker room and being a part of what they've already created and built. And not that Mike Green's a bad dude, and not that some of these other guys like James Pierce, for instance, are bad guys. But we've already put together this locker room full of great personalities, guys that mesh well together, guys that don't cause any distractions on or off the field. We can't mess that up. We're not looking to mess that up. So, till they draft a guy with some kind of character concerns, I just don't see it. They got to show me. They can't tell me about it. They got to show me. So, he talked about being a good teammate, taking what you learn in the classroom and applying it on the field. He said, and kind of getting themselves ready. He said the great part about the rookie minis is, and I talked about this on Friday. I said, this is their opportunity to really, in a small, concentrated setting, focus on these young guys. This will be the only time they get this kind of treatment where they're the center of attention. Because today, as we know, is a continuation of phase 2, right? Rookie minis is a part of phase 2. Now the entire team is together for the next 3 days. The entire team is together. So the rookies stay on board. The vets show up, and now everybody's together for the first time. So that was the one and only time the rookies get that kind of treatment, where you're the center of attention. We're focusing all of our time, energy, and resources on you. Any questions you have, any concerns you have, this is your opportunity to get it out right now, because once the entire team comes, now it's about the entire unit. It ain't just about you no more. So DQ was like, I'm so excited to get the entire group back on Monday and integrate these rookies in with their peers and get this thing rolling, right? So he talked about that. He talked about Trey Amos and what having a guy like Trey, because remember, DQ pretty much said, or Adam Peters, pretty much said after the draft, we drafted him to be a boundary corner. That's pretty much where he played in college. But if you watch him at Alabama, he played in the slot too. He played the nickel as well. So he can do both. But they brought him out here to be a boundary corner. And DQ expounded upon that. He's like, look, this is a tall, long, fast, physical corner that allows you to come up, play a little bit of press, can run, can be disruptive at the point of catch. This is what we're looking for. This is what we lacked last year, right? He can be a nice compliment to Marshawn Lattimore because in the NFC Championship game, not that they were running away from Marshawn Lattimore with A.J. Brown, because in arguably the biggest play of the game, they went right at Marshawn Lattimore. 4th and 5 from, just outside of midfield. The Eagles, that was ballsy as shit. I mean, who are we kidding? Yeah, they got away with a holding penalty, but they ain't call it, right? They missed it. That was a big play in the game because we had all the momentum right there. I think the score at the time was 14-12. We had just come off a possession where we scored a touchdown. Terry had just had the touchdown catch and run, and we went for 2. We didn't get it. I thought it was a little early for that, but whatever, right? I wasn't mad at it. Wasn't glad at it. But you got yourself into a position where either they were going to have to try a long field goal, which they did not trust their kicker because he had an awful year from 50+. So they didn't trust Jake Elliott to kick a field goal from that distance. And they didn't want to punt. It was too close to punt. So they went for it. Boy, did they ever, because they threw a deep ball on 4th and 5. Now, Frankie Louvu got hogtied on the play by Saquon Barkley. It should have been a holding penalty, but Jalen Hurts throws a dime. And A.J. Brown beat, Marshawn Lattimore off the line of scrimmage. And it was perfectly placed football. You can't throw it any better than that. So they went at Marshawn Lattimore in the game. But they really targeted Mikey Samersdale. Who are we kidding? Like, a lot of damage was done on Mikey's side with A.J. Brown, including a touchdown catch, including a bunch of hitches, right, where they just said, all right, Mikey doesn't want to get beat deep. He's playing often soft. Let's take advantage of him. That is gone now. That whole often soft, we're giving A.J. Brown 8 yards of cushion. All he's got to do is turn around at the snap of the ball and catch a hitch and then break 2 tackles and get 15 yards on a 1-yard pass. That shit's over with, bro. We can play that press, or we can at least play 5 yards off on both sides now. You ain't running past nobody. This ain't Emmanuel Forbes getting bodied. This ain't Mikey Samersdale not wanting to get run by. This is Trey Amos in your face, deleting the airspace on one side, and Marshawn Lattimore doing the same on the opposite side now. And that's what DQ basically said. We can do some things. We can play some match coverage, right, where he could be aggressive, or we can play man and just have him try and take a dude away. And we feel confident in both settings that he'll be able to do that. Music to my ears, right? Of course, he got the Gabe Taylor question, and in typical DQ fashion, he expanded that conversation to the entire group. Like, he's not the only guy here that we're taking a long look at as a invitee. We invited a bunch of guys out here for tryouts, and they're all going through the process. But it's pretty cool, to have Gabe Taylor here, obviously with everything that went on with his brother. It's a pretty cool moment. But all those guys are getting an opportunity here, as Tyree Phillips did as well. Even though he's not a rookie, he took advantage of it, and now he's going to training camp with the Commanders. As of right now, obviously things are subject to change. So he talked about that. I already talked about him talking about playing in Madrid in Spain. That's happening, bro. That's happening. So you can see the writing on the wall there. Even the smirk he gave after his response in Spanish, he had a little devilish smirk, like, yeah, we know what's good over here. He talked about the schedule release. He even said that, look, we already know who we're playing. I never get the whole argument about we already know who we're playing. That doesn't make a difference. It's not about knowing who you play. It's when and, knowing who you're playing and where you're playing them at. We know those things. We know the home opponents. We know the road opponents, right? We didn't know we were going to be playing Miami in Madrid. We didn't know that. We're going to find that out probably tomorrow on the Today Show when they officially release it, right? But we didn't know that when we knew who the road and home opponents were. We didn't know we were going to Madrid. That's the importance of the schedule, is that Yeah, we know we're playing the Chiefs on the road. Yeah, we know we're playing the Falcons on the road. Yeah, we know we're playing the Bears at home. Yeah, we know we're playing, the Packers on the road. Yeah, we know, et cetera, right? Playing the Denver Broncos at home. We know those things. I get it. But you don't know when we're playing those games, and you don't know in what time slot you're playing those games. That's important for various reasons. One, it's more exciting to play a primetime game than it is a 1:00 kick game, right? So that matters, right? Two, people actually want to attend these games. So, like, somebody might already have the game against Green Bay on their calendar. Like, I'm going to that game, right? I just need to know when that game is taking place. Is it a night game? Is it a day game? Which I think the Green Bay game is going to be a 4:25 kick. I don't see that being like a primetime game, right? But it could be, because you got Jordan Love, and the Packers are an up-and-coming team as well. They're young. They're fun. They could turn that into a primetime game. That doesn't feel like one. It feels like a Fox 4:25 America's Game of the Week type of kick. But, someone like, I'm going to that game. I just need to know when so I can block off my hotel, take time off work if I need to. Except that's why that's important for fans too, right? It's a big deal because not only are you finding out when you're playing that, what time of day are we playing that opponent? When at the schedule? When is our bye week? When do we play NFC East games? How many do we have at the front of the schedule? How many do we have at the back of the schedule, right? Like, these are important. We've had NFC East games backloaded each of the last 3-4 years. Right? We didn't play Philadelphia once until week 10 last year. We didn't play Dallas not once until week, 12 last year, I believe? Either 11 or I think it might have been. So it was Steelers week 10. Eagles were week 11. Cowboys were week 12. So we didn't play the Eagles until week 11 last year for the first time. We didn't play the Cowboys for the first time until week 12. We were done with the Giants by week 9. But we still have 4 NFC East games backloaded on the schedule, pretty much, late in the season, mid to late in the season, right? And if you want to count the Giants, we had the Giants the second time in week 9. We had 3 out of 4 last year stretch NFC East opponents. Giants on the road week 9, Steelers home week 10, Eagles quick turnaround Thursday night football on the road week 11, Cowboys at home week 12. 3 games in 4 weeks, NFC East. That's a big stretch if you're trying to win a division. That stretch of football ultimately determined we weren't going to win the division because we lost 2 out of 3 games in the division in that stretch, and that ultimately proved to be fatal when trying to compete for the division. You had to sweep Dallas. You had to sweep the Giants last year if you wanted to have a chance at the division against Philadelphia. And we split with them, which is what you got to do. If you're not going to sweep them, you got to at least split with them. When we did our part, but we didn't beat Dallas twice. That's what stopped us from winning the division. That's an important stretch. So when you see that type of stuff on the schedule, right? How many, we start out the season early where, if I'm not mistaken, our first 3 out of 4 were on the road. That's a tough stretch to kick off a season with a rookie quarterback in a new regime. Start out on the road at Tampa Bay, a team that won the division, won a playoff game last year, which we took an L. You come back home for the Giants. We needed that one bad. Then you go on the road to the jungle week 3 against Cincinnati, and then at Arizona the following week. We could have been done after the first month of the season if we were trash. If Jayden Daniels wasn't Jayden Daniels, our season could have been done after 4 weeks last year. Right out of the gate, we had 3 out of 4 on the road. We could have been done ski. Luckily enough for us, he was clutch. And we won 3 out of 4 instead of losing 3 out of 4 or all 4 of them. So that's why the schedule is important. And DQ kind of downplay, we already know who we playing. So, we don't really care. It's a big thing for the fans and, people get excited about it. But, we get excited about it for a day and then we go back to business. I'm like, I get it. But shit, that ain't going to stop me from being excited. I'm excited. You can't taper I'm so excited. Let me just give y'all a program update while we're here. So Wednesday, the day of the schedule release, I'm going to be pretty much live with y'all almost all day. I'm putting in a work day with y'all. I'm gonna jump on live either around 10 or 12 noon, and we're just going to keep it going all the way until like 6 on Wednesday. Because information is going to come out, and it's not just Commanders, right? Other teams' schedules will be coming out, and we'll try to piece together things. But yeah, mostly it's going to be Commanders that we care about, and some of the stuff is going to come out about us over the next 2 days, right? Today and tomorrow, because tomorrow they're going to be releasing all the international games, and then you're going to get bits and pieces of the schedule. This team is playing on Sunday Night Football in week whatever against this team, and we're going to be a part of that because we're going to be playing on Sunday night. We're getting 2 Sundays, we're getting 2 Mondays, we're getting a Thursday, we're getting an international, and we're getting a Christmas on Netflix more likely than not. That's 7 right there, all right? That's 7 right there, okay? With an opportunity to be on some Black Friday or on some late season Saturday shit, which is also I consider a primetime game because ain't nobody else on but you, all right? Like, that's the type of time we on this year, guys. 2 Sundays, 2 Mondays, a Thursday. That Thursday, they better not put us on Christmas and Thanksgiving. I already said we can't get all the juicy ones. Shout out to my guy Mamba Fats. They're not gonna give us all the juicy ones. Nah, they ain't gonna do us like that. Shit. That's the Jaden Daniels effect. We might get all them hoes. Thanksgiving against Dallas, Christmas against the Chiefs. Black Friday against the Eagles, or normally they don't put like divisional. I lied because they put the Raiders and the Chiefs on Black Friday last year. So it could easily be, they're going to save, like, that's why I didn't think. So I know we're talking about us, but I know you saw Eagles Cowboys to kick off the season on Thursday night. I knew it wasn't going to be us because I consider that spot. And again, last year it was a rematch of the AFC Championship game. They came out of the gates with Chiefs and Ravens, and it turned out to be an epic thriller, right? Literally, the toe of Isaiah Likely proved to be the difference in that game, right? Because they were going for 2, and they were going to get the shit. They were going to win that game. I'm convinced. Harbaugh was going for 2 already, and they were going to win that game. Yeah. But it was a thriller. But to me, you don't have to put, like, you want to put something on that's juicy, that's scintillating, because there's going to be so much excitement. Like I said, you could put on any game to kick off the season, and people are going to be thrilled, but you want it to be a good game. I said this on social media. I said, first of all, I love that it's an NFC East showdown. We're going to be watching. Give me my popcorn, goddammit. I got my popcorn ready. We're going to be front and center watching 2 teams that we hate the most in the division beat the shit out of each other. I couldn't ask for much more to kick off the season. But it's also a passing of the torch in the NFC. The Cowboys for so long have had this like death grip on Sunday night to kick off the season. And usually they drag the lifeless carcass of the New York Giants along with them, and they force us to watch the Giants and Cowboys in primetime week 1. It's usually Sunday night, but we've even seen, I think, was the 40-0 game a Sunday night or a Monday night game? I can't recall, right? But that was I think that was the time that the league said, okay, we've stretched this Giants-Cowboys shit out early in the season, week 1, as far as it will go. Eli Manning ain't walking through that door. This shit is over. Let's not do this anymore, right? So we got spared last year. I don't recall who was week 1. But usually the Cowboys own Sunday Night Football week 1 because they're a ratings darling. They're a massive attraction. So I remember a couple of years ago, it was Tampa Bay, like the year, I want to say the year Baker Mayfield got there, his first year there. So maybe 2022. They were on against the Bucs. They lost that game, by the way, did the Cowboys. It's usually the Giants. Can't tell you how many times they played the Giants week 1, Sunday Night Football. They have to have the most Sunday Night Football matchups of any 2 teams facing each other in week 1 in the last 15 years. Nobody's even remotely close, right? And I bet you Dallas has the most Sunday Night Football week 1 appearances of anyone over the last 15 years. I would tell you that that's not even close, right? By them putting them against Philadelphia, and that also kills the Dallas versus Philly on Thanksgiving, which I don't know why they're allergic to that matchup, by the way. I don't know why it's okay for the Giants and Commanders to always be the Cowboys' opponent on Thanksgiving, but the Eagles never have to do Thanksgiving against Dallas. Why is that? Well, they're not going to do them week 1 Thursday night and then Thursday again on Thanksgiving. So that's out the window, which is fine by me because we already know they're gonna put us up there against Dallas. Like you can see the tea leaves, right? But that's fun. But it also opens up Sunday night football for us. I told you we're on Monday. We're on Sunday or Monday. And I think it's Sunday. Because if you're really pushing Jayden Daniels this year as the guy in the NFC, if you're really then you need to press that button from the word go. Week 1, Sunday night, right off the bat, you need to press that button right now. Right now, press that button. And I think they press it. And Dallas not being an option on Sunday night because now they're playing on Thursday night. They still get their Cowboys, right? They still get their ratings, darling. They just put them on another slot. That tells me they're opening up Sunday for somebody. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. And I think it's us. And I think it's a rematch of the best Sunday night game they had last season. Commanders and Falcons. We're going to be on the road, though. That sucks. But that's what I think is going to come down the pipeline. And if they want us to be at home, and it's only one of two options. It's either Bears Commanders or it's Falcons Commanders on Sunday night. I know they want, like they can build the storyline of the rematch and they can sell the whole, Hail Mary angle, the Washington walk-off, a.k.a. Bear Trap, a.k.a. Noah's Ark. They can sell that. They can spin that as a week 1 narrative. And everybody will bite it hook, line, and sinker. So the most it was the play that won the award at the NFL award show for the best play of the season. It's the most memorable play from last year by far and away. No one's ever going to forget that play. You don't have to be a Commanders fan or a Bears fan to know about that play. You've seen it a million times. It was extraordinary. And so you can just sell that Sunday night game on just a rematch for the Bears, but it's also the number 1 pick versus the number 2 pick from last year's draft. And Ben Johnson in his first career game as the head coach of the Bears. And what is he going to break out? I really don't want to play them week 1, to be honest with you, because Ben Johnson's going to have a whole bunch of shit up his sleeve. And we already know how nasty he is. We don't like Ben Johnson around these parts for how he did us. We already got our revenge. But it's always going to be on site with Ben Johnson, right? I don't think that's ever going to change. But I was bloodthirsty last year. I said this when he did it to us. I said, I want to see them in the playoffs. Remember, I was talking spicy, and then I realized, do I really want that smoke? And as the Lions kept winning and winning, I'm like, I don't really know if I want that smoke for real, do I? But then by the time we got there, I was like, hell yeah. I ain't backing away. I ain't backing down, but it's always going to be on site. But I'm not as bloodthirsty as I was last year. I wanted Ben Johnson to be in Detroit, to get it while he was still there, to put that exclamation point on it. But you know that he probably wants a piece of us, right? And you also know that the Bears, all those players that were there last year, most of that roster was there last year. We ended their season. You don't think they forgot that shit. So they would be returned to the scene of the crime. That feels like more of an option than the Falcons game. But I could see them, if they want us on the road, it's Atlanta. If they want us at home, it's Chicago. That's the week 1 matchup. But, man, I'm going to be with y'all for the schedule release that day. Then I'm going to take a quick break, get the kids home, feed them, bathe them, get them to bed. And then we coming right back at it with the Commanders Kings live. I think 8:30 that night. So the schedule will already be out. You've had a chance to digest it, and then we're going to dive knee deep into that thing Wednesday night. Speaking of live streams, tonight, Commander King or Super Friends are live tonight, 8:30 over on the NFC East Super Friends channel. So check us out there. Tuesday night, I'll be live here for the Command Post Live. And then Wednesday night, Commanders Kings will ride again. Schedule release And we'll comb through that thing. We'll get all of our opinions on everything. We'll go through all the stretches of football, where the bye is, all the primetime games. We'll do all of that. All the shit we've been talking about is going to come to fruition. And we're going to talk about it all on Commanders Kings. And then the following night, Thursday night, I will be live. And I will, anything that we didn't talk about with the schedule, but it's still going to be like lingering. All that schedule stuff is still going to be lingering. We'll talk about that. And I think we will be wrapping up the phase 2 of minicamp, I believe. If we're not wrapping it up here, it's one more little 3-day stretch, and then you wrap up phase 2. So I know that the team is getting together today. There's a 3-day stretch here. And then, matter of fact, let me find the schedule, the off-season schedule. So phase 2, they got one more stretch next week. So they got the 12th through the 15th, which is today, right? Starts today. And that's with the whole team getting together for the first time. And then they got another one May 19th through the 22nd. So that's next week, next Monday through Thursday. And so that'll end phase 2. And then you get into phase 3 where you actually get the real on-field work. No contact. Obviously, you don't want guys on the ground, but that's the real third and final phase. And then you get the actual mini camp, the 3-day mini camp, where they set the tone for what's to come. Get your bodies ready, get your minds right. You're going to get this break, take care of your body, give them that speech, and then they break, and then you get the whole, month of rest of June off, half of July. So you get that month break, and then they come back for training camp. And I think in that space between mini camp and training camp, Terry McLaurin's going to get his contract extension. But I digress. Anyway, so back to, I know I just veered all the way off of DQ's presser, but that was the gist of his presser, right? He talked about his excitement for this group, talked about, seeing these guys out there, getting them to learn, transfer from the classroom to the field, all that good stuff. So he, in typical DQ fashion, he was excited, and he's looking forward to seeing these players kind of integrate themselves into the culture that they've built. And we saw some guys stick around, like Zach Ertz, kind of watching practice, sticking around and see, what the new guys look like, what the young fellas look like. He was already in town from, the OTAs from before, right? Because remember, the veteran OTAs in phase 2 started right before the rookie minis, right? It bled into it. Their last day was the first day when the rookies were coming in, right? It was like May 5th to the 8th for the veterans. And as they were leaving, the rookies were coming in. So it was like, tag, you're it. So he just stuck around and was like, let me see what these young boys out here talking about. So it was cool to see, a couple of the veterans hanging around, but they are all there now. But we heard from Josh Connolly. His was very brief. He jumped in and jumped out because they already had a chance to talk to him after the draft. So his wasn't as long. Amos was a little bit longer because they hadn't had a chance to talk to him in that setting. So Connolly, I think it was like almost like 4 minutes long. He basically talked about watching film, working on his fundamentals, his technique, kind of taking what they were, being taught in the classroom and trying to apply it to the field. He's so well-spoken. He's so intellectually locked in. I got no doubts about this kid. Like, he respects the game. He understands the veterans. Like, I know you guys probably saw this too. There was a interview where he was asked, best pass blocker that he's ever seen, best run blocker he's ever seen. And he had an answer. Larry Allen, best run blocker. Walter Jones, I think he said, was his best pass blocker. And then I forget the last question that he was asked. But he had another, legend of the game lined up. And you could tell he watches film. He's a student of the game. This kid has a chance to be really good, man. I'm excited about him because, we don't really, and some of this is a byproduct of our environment. We, as fans here, we haven't invested in the offensive line in the first round since Brandon Sheriff. We haven't invested in a first-round tackle since Trent Williams back in 2010. Like, it's been a long time since we've actually invested first round resources into the offensive line. So for around here, we've become somewhat used to, finding guys in the later rounds, signing a guy from somewhere else that's a Band-Aid solution. Like, we're used to the Nick Allegretti signings around here, right? A guy that you get for 3 years, $15 million, whatever, right? That's the type of shit that we've been doing around here, trying to find a Trey Turner on his last legs, or a guy like that to bring in here, and Andrew Norwell, on his last legs, and trying to get the most out of him. We refuse to spend real draft capital on the offensive line, especially the tackle position. So it's kind of refreshing to see them do that. And I think this kid's going to be legit. So he talked about, his first time out here, can't wait to meet his teammates. He talked about already, speaking to Jayden Daniels, and can't wait to actually meet him, which that's taking place today. And kind of learning from some of the veterans. Obviously, Laremy Tunsil, I think he's going to really take to Laremy Tunsil, kind of soak up all of his knowledge and be a sponge. He talked about being a sponge, as a matter of fact, and learning from, some of the veterans that are here already. But Laremy Tunsil is going to be so massive for his development, I think. Because I think they're very similar players. Like, I don't want to call Laremy Tunsil finesse because he's not a dominant run blocker, but he's one of the best pass blockers in the league. I see a lot of that in Josh Connolly. He's not a man mover. He's not. I don't see him really taking taking an edge rush or a linebacker, maybe a linebacker, but not an edge rusher or an interior defensive lineman and putting their dick in the dirt. He's just not moving dudes like that. But when you put him on an island and say, "Hey, protect the quarterback," I think he can do that, like Laremy Tunsil can. So I think this is a great investment. And so he talked about can't wait to meet his teammates, can't wait to be able to take in some of that information, be in that environment, with all the guys, and kind of start building that bond and that brotherhood. So he talked about that. And then Trey Amos, he talked for over 6 minutes. So his was a little bit different. He got a lot more questions because he hadn't addressed the media before. So his was a little bit longer. I talked about him getting a couple of back questions. And I don't think he really rehearsed, like, because he should have known he was going to get a couple back questions. And he was just like, I'm out here, I'm doing everything. Like, it should have been like something to the effect of, and again, I can't tell him what to say, but DQ knew he was, because this is the savvy, he's been there, done that. He knew he was getting a Madrid question. He was ready for that shit, right? He didn't just think about, I'm going to say, sin comentarios. He didn't think about saying that shit off the cuff, on the fly. That wasn't a spontaneous reaction. He knows Spanish. He might know Spanish. I don't know. I think he went and learned that because there was a slight pause and delay. Like, he was thinking about, how do I say this again? And then he said it. But he's so cool and smooth that it was just dope. But he was ready for that. He threw them a curveball. They thought they were getting a fastball. They were sitting dead red fastball. They got a curveball. They knees buckled. Meanwhile, he was sitting dead red fastball. They gave him a fastball and he did not miss, right? Trey Amos got a fastball, right? And he thought he was getting some sort of off-speed pitch. He wasn't ready for the fastball. And it went right by him. And I'm like, he should have. I mean, it was a simple answer like, hey, some teams might have been concerned. My camp wasn't concerned. The Commanders weren't concerned. I have no limitations, no issues whatsoever. I feel good as far as I'm concerned. And so it's not a big deal. And that's that, right? But he was just like, I'm out here. I'm doing everything. So it kind of just left it to chance. Like, he didn't put it away, right? So somebody came back. I think Nikki Javala came back later after, and maybe it was Ben Standing or somebody that initially threw that out there. And Nikki came back and cleaned it up, like, so on the back thing, right? And so he kind of repeated what he said the first time, but it was just like he was rambling through it. He was like, yeah, like, and he should have had a definite answer for that. Other than that, I thought the rest of that press conference was Trey Amos being Trey Amos. Like, I think the answer that resonated with me the most, it was surprising because I'm not used to guys saying this. They asked him, does he bring juice to the table? And he was like, no, I don't. I was like, wait, what? I'm not used to dudes saying that, nah, I don't bring any juice, bro. That ain't me. He was like, nah, I don't bring any juice. On game days, I'm pretty chill. And you can tell he's a chill dude. And like he celebrates and all of that stuff, but he's like, I don't really talk trash. I'm just pretty chill on the field. I'm locked in. Everything else, I'm drowning it out. No sound, hear nothing. I'm just locked in on my responsibility. So now I'm not bringing no juice. I'm pretty chill, and I'm just trying to make sure I execute what I got to get done. And I'm like, huh. I wasn't expecting that response, but okay. All right. But be you. Be authentically, unapologetically you. And if you're not a rah-rah guy, if you're not a speech guy, if you're not somebody that talks trash, you just go out there and you're a silent assassin. Go do that. Go be you. So I'm used to dudes like, yeah, I'm, even if you're not the big rah-rah speech guy, like if somebody asks you about juice, usually the answer is, yeah, I bring juice, I bring energy, I bring this to the field. He's like, nah, none of that shit. Like, I'm just me. I'm chilling. I'm out here trying to do my job. And that's basically what I bring to the table. But I thought that was an interesting answer. He also talked about learning from Marshawn Lattimore, which he said he can't wait to get in the locker room with all those guys. Also, just to go back on Josh Connolly, I thought something else that was interesting. He said he talked to Brandon Coleman already to ask him about the process that he was about to go through. And he said Brandon Coleman basically gave him the rundown of what these, mini camps and OTAs were going to be like, just kind of giving him, the baseline of what to expect. So he knew what he was kind of walking into. He was like, he really prepped him for everything. I think that's really cool, right? That those two can be like connected like that quickly, because they brought him in here essentially to take a spot that Brandon Coleman was going to be competing for at tackle. Like Coleman clearly, and I don't think Brandon Coleman cares. He just wants to start. And whether Coleman is one of those dudes, and this is why I love Brandon Coleman. He'll do whatever he's asked to do for the good of the team. He's one of those dudes that's selfless. You get enough of those kind of guys, it's going to be hard for you not to be successful. Because Brandon Coleman, he played through injuries last year. Brandon Coleman was willing to do whatever they asked him to do and do it with enthusiasm. He's a guy that is always smiling, always bubbly. Love Brandon Coleman. And so he knew he wasn't playing left tackle because they went out and got Laremy Tunsil. He was going to get a chance at right tackle, and then they drafted Josh Connolly. So now he's probably going to be kicked inside the guard. And for him to still be like, yeah, I'm about to reach out to him and give him the rundown of what he's to expect during this time, I think that's really cool, man. And it just shows how selfless he is. And again, this goes back to DQ talking about being a good teammate, right? It kind of all kind of plays into being a good teammate. I love it. So back to Trey Amos, he was talking about learning from Mike Sainristil, right? From what he did last year, and learning from Marshawn Lattimore and being in that, environment with those guys in that classroom and really learning. He said it's going to be fun to be in there and really get an opportunity. But he, throughout his press conference, made it abundantly clear, I'm going to be me, right? I'm going to play my game. I'm going to be me. I'm a chill dude. I'm not this rah-rah guy. You're not going to see me out here doing a whole bunch of talking. And we'll see. When you get to training camp, it's always a lot of defense versus offense, a lot of shit going back and forth. We'll see. He might get a little bit more riled up than he thinks, but that might just be his demeanor. He might not be out here talking. He might not be doing all of that. You saw the ice in his grill. He's a down south dude for real, man. And you could hear it in the way he talks, down south twang and whatnot. He's going to be a really good acquisition to that room. And he pretty much talked about wanting to get out there and do whatever they ask him to do. And, just really be. In addition, they asked him, did he watch this team last year? And he was like, yeah, I watched them, especially in the playoffs. And You know, I just want to be able to come in and add to what they were doing a season ago and see if I can't, you know, end up being, he didn't say a missing piece, but essentially that's kind of what he was kind of alluding to. Like, hey, I want to come in here and see if I can't add to what they were doing and maybe see if I wasn't one of the missing pieces that they had on the defensive side. So you got to be excited when you come in here as a young player to a team that went to the NFC Championship game, that played in their, you know, conference's championship game a season ago. You feel like you're not that far away. I mean, I think that's why you got a guy like Zach Ertz hanging around an extra day to kind of see what the guys look like, because they know they're close. If you're a veteran, you know, I don't think Bobby Wagner, and this is more of a conversation for once we get to the dog days of the offseason, and that little stretch where there's nothing to really talk about. We'll have a lot of these conversations, but I don't think Bobby Wagner, when he signed up last year, we talked about this briefly when we were in the run, he didn't sign up like he would have. If you would have asked Bobby Wagner, and he even said that one of his former teammates asked him why he was signing with the Commanders, like they're gonna suck ass pretty much, and he was like, "We'll see," right? And he told us why he signed here, you know, because of DQ, because of Kid Norton Jr., you know, because also the money was right, but he was going to Howard, so it made sense. Be closer to school. You can actually attend the campus and take classes and actually be there in person. But, you know, it was more about the coaches that were here. Ken Norton, DQ, guys he was familiar with. And he couldn't have imagined that it was going to be like this. Ertz, when he came here, this was more about coming here to be with Cliff than it was to try to win. I just want to be comfortable. If I'm about to play my last season in the NFL, I just want to go out with a guy that I'm comfortable with, that knows me, I know him, and I know he's going to utilize me correctly, and he's going to make this fun. I ain't really tripping off of winning. I know that ain't what we doing here. They didn't think they were walking into this shit. It comes Jaden Daniels, and everything changes. And now they feel, those veterans feel like we got a chance. We got a chance. Ertz was like, bro, after this, remember, as soon as we lost to Philadelphia, Ertz said in the locker room after that game, I don't want to play nowhere else. It's here or nowhere. This is it. He told his agent, I need to be back in Washington next year or I'm done. Bobby Wagner wasn't going nowhere. DQ was talking about Bobby Wagner at the combine. Somewhere, I know Bobby Wagner is somewhere getting better today. They hadn't even signed him back yet. So you already knew B-Wags was coming back. You knew we was running this shit back. So he was like, yeah, I watched it. I saw what these guys were doing, and they damn close. Hopefully, a couple of these pieces put you over the top. So I digress. Let's get to the comment section and we'll get out of here. Ben Schmouder, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ben writes, first time catching you live in almost an hour late. I know that's not a great impression. I overslept like a mug. Like, I was so disappointed in myself, and I didn't even feel it. Normally, when you oversleeping, you jump up and you feel it. Like, the alarm went off. I looked at the time. I'm like, I can sleep for like 5 more minutes. So I set the alarm. I don't even remember the alarm going off the second time. And maybe because if you snooze it, it goes off in 5 minutes. I think I might have turned that bitch off, Ben, and not snoozed it. Because if it would have went off the second time, I would have gotten up. I think I turned it off. Because I don't even remember the second alarm. It could have went off the second time, and I could have just turned it off and went to sleep. But all I know is I was like, damn, that was a long 5 minutes. I looked at my watch. I was like, it's 1 o'clock, bro. What are you doing, man? Yeah, that's unfortunate. He said, I must be bad luck, LOL. All love, though, Lou. Your content is awesome. I appreciate you, Ben. My bad, Ben, man. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. I just pissed that away with you. He was like, well, Louie's going to be. Look, ask anybody. I'm always late. For one reason or another. I'm usually not that late. That was ridiculous. That was absolutely ridiculous. And if we're being literal, I wasn't an hour late, Ben. Okay. I was 40 minutes late. I started at 1:10. It was supposed to start at 12:30. Don't put an extra 20 minutes on me. It's bad enough I was already late. Don't put a whole extra 20 minutes on me, Ben. Okay? Sheesh, I feel bad already. JP3, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP3 writes, if Cash Allen can be on the practice squad, so can Gabe Taylor. Again, it was a different time when Cash Allen was on the practice squad. It was a different time. There were a lot more roster spots available. There were a lot more practice squad spots available. You got to remember, now they're a full 2 years into their program. So now you couple the 9 draft picks from last year with the 5 from this year. That's 14. You couple the undrafted that were here that ended up on the practice squad, the 2 that ended up on the 53-man roster. So you can really say that's 16 total draft picks when you couple in the UDFAs that made the team. Now they're in the mix. They feel like draft picks now because they made the roster. You look at the UDFAs that were on the practice squad last year, coupled with the 10 guys that they signed this year, minus the one that they cut already in Trey Rucker. So 9 this year, probably 4 or 5 like Michael Wiley, who was here last year, who was here, who might have been a little sketchy now that you see Aneem Dankwa get cut. They might have been real. And I think I alluded to like, hey, this might be a final warning to those 2 because they didn't bring back nobody else from last year. They just brought those 2 back. That might have been their way of saying, hey, we need to see it, or we might just have to go ahead and move on, right? Anyway, I said all of that to say this. They're further along in their process. And keep in mind, they signed a bunch more veterans, right? So they brought in a bunch more veterans. Not as many as they did last year, but they brought back a bunch of guys from last year. They brought a bunch more veterans in. You added in more draft picks. You added in more UDFAs. What I'm telling you is there's not a lot of space. Not as much space as it was last year so that Cash Allen could hang around. There's a lot less space this year. But here's the thing. If they really, truly believe in Gabe Taylor's abilities, he'll be here. And there's a chance. I'm telling you, they didn't have to cut 2 guys. Now, again, this could have nothing to do with nothing other than those 2 guys didn't meet their requirements. So we're not going to hold on to them. These 2 guys don't meet our requirements, so we're going to hold on to them. We're not going to hold on to them. And Aneem Dankwa and Trey Rucker. So they moved on from those. And it can have nothing to do with a transaction to correspond with that. It could just be, this dude ain't good enough. Period. They brought in Tyree Phillips because they viewed him as an upgrade over Aneem Dankwa, right? Cool. And they didn't bring anybody else in at the safety position because they just didn't feel the need to do so. Or they could be waiting and they ultimately bring Gabe Taylor back and officially sign him as a UDFA. We'll see. Or that spot could just be vacant and they could ultimately get an edge with that vacancy, and that be that. So I hear you about Gabe Taylor. I hear you. But they'll tell you how they feel about him. I can tell you this. They were impressed. How impressed? There's levels to this shit. Clearly not impressed enough to just outright give him an opportunity as a UDFA, right, like they did with Tyree Phillips, signing him. But I think they're playing the odds. If they would have let Tyree Phillips back out there, somebody else would have, scooped him up and had him ready to go to camp. Gabe Taylor, they probably feel like is going to be out there. And if they want to come back to that Gabe Taylor thing, they can. But we'll see. Metaphor. Been a member for 44 months. Oh, you're getting close to 4 years, bro. Watch out now. Salute to you, he writes. Gabe or other UDFA safety rucker still feels like Cincy Trey. I don't see them trading for Trey Hendrickson. It could happen. But again, Cincinnati, this is what I've always said. They march to the beat of their own drum. So they're not going to just acquiesce to what Trey Hendrickson wants or say, you know what, we need to do right by Trey Hendrickson. They don't give a shit. They will tell Trey Hendrickson, you're going to play for this $18 million. I don't know what the number is, but it's a disrespectful number, especially with all the money that's been handed out to guys like Max Crosby and Myles Garrett this offseason, and he belongs in that conversation of the best edge rushers over the last 3 years. He deserves to be paid like those guys, and he just wants to be rightly compensated for what he's done. And they do the type of shit where they'll say, either you play for this, you sign a contract, one, so you got $18 million left on the final year of your deal, which is chump change. We don't care. Play for this $18 million or you won't play at all. Like, they're that vindictive and spiteful that they'll say, you don't got but one option. Because with the new CBA, he doesn't have any leverage. He can't sit out. You know, they can fine him mercilessly. And unlike in past years where if a guy came back after all of those fines accrued, you could waive them. You can't waive those fines. Or, I mean, I've seen them, like they did it with CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys did it with CeeDee Lamb. So I think there's still a way that you can maneuver around that. But like the Browns might, I mean, the Bengals might be vindictive enough to be like, hey, you accruing fines and we're going to charge you them bitches out of your little $18 million that you bitching about. Come up off that. So he's not really in an advantageous position. And they're doing that Cincinnati Bengals thing where, and, you know, I could tell that they were about to jerk him when they gave him a chance to find a trade partner, which they weren't really looking to trade because they were asking for outlandish shit. They weren't really looking to trade him, to be honest with you. And then he spoke out, and he didn't even say anything negative for real. He just said, basically, there really hasn't been a lot of communication. He said, I would have respected it more if they would have just told me, hey, you're in the queue. We're going to take care of these receivers first. And after we're done with them, we're going to come back and circle around and we're going to get to you. And he said, I would have been cool if they would have told me that. At least I knew where I stood then and I wouldn't just be kind of hanging in limbo. They really just left him on red, basically. So in order to go in and rescue Trey Hendrickson, they still asking for a lot. We don't have the draft capital. You realize we already gave up a 2 and a 4 in 2026's draft already, right? And we're in no position to be giving up anything. And if you were giving up something, it would be a 2. We don't have a 2. We don't have a 2. So right now, it doesn't feel like you're going and getting Trey Hendrickson. We'll see what they ultimately do. Wilfredo Elias. First of all, let me say this. I heard your jokes, Dory Gunner, okay? I heard your jokes. Hey, if y'all knew, don't listen to him. I'm late. I ain't 30 minutes late. All right, now I may push it back 30 minutes, but that's because I'm preparing. But most times, I might push it back 5 minutes, or I might be 5 or 10 minutes late. I'm rarely on time. That is factual. I'm rarely on time. But there's an explanation. There's a method to my madness. I don't need to share that. But it's the way I work. It's probably not the best for time purposes for you guys, but it works for me. But I'm not 30 minutes late all the time. Don't buy the hype. Don't buy the hype. Wilfredo Elias, thank you for the super chat. Or thank you for being a member of the MOBB, and thank you for your generosity. Stand up. There are 5 new members courtesy of Wilfredo Elias. Thank you for the blessing. Thank you for your generosity in blessing these 5 new members with membership to the best out in the game right now, the MOBB. We deep, we strong, and we know how to get it on. Pause. We the mob. Stand up. We in the building. Welcome these 5 new members with open arms. Welcome them to the squad, courtesy of Wilfredo Elias. Wilfredo Elias, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, shout out to Gabe, though. Y'all know what it is. Shout out to Gabe, though, man. Shout out to Gabe. He's got a shot. I'm not ruling it out. With them releasing Trey Rucker, I do find it just a little bit interesting. And that happens to be a safety. I find that very interesting. I'm not ruling out Gabe Taylor yet. I'm not doing it. It would not shock me that if on Thursday, after the schedule release happens, we find out that the Commanders have agreed to sign Gabe Taylor. You wake up to a little, ESPN notification on your phone that says Gabe Taylor has reached a UDFA agreement with the Commanders. I wouldn't be shocked on Thursday if that's the case. Shout out to Gabe, though. Shout out to Gabe. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Duncan writes, who are these rookies you guys have? I don't know a single name. Magic doesn't know what he's doing. I'll bet real money even I could make the team. Truth. Are you a Commanders fan? Last time I checked, you claim to be an Eagles fan. I think you really are a Commanders fan. But you claim to be an Eagles fan. If that's the case, why would you know any of our draft picks? You're not locked in like that, Duncan. You spend most afternoons drunk on your ass when you're not at work. Maybe there's a confluence of both where you're drunk on your ass at work. I don't know. I'm going to give you more credit than that and say that you have work integrity and you don't show up on the job smelling like vodka and tequila, right? Or smelling like a brewski. You wait till you get off of work to do that. But how would you know what we got going on over here? Half the time, you can't even put together a coherent sentence. How would you know who we drafted? You don't even know who the Eagles drafted. I could ask you you can't even tell me who the Eagles drafted. I kid. You're my guy. John Week. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. John Week writes, AP building the Eagles. Big guys on the D-line that can stop the run, faster linebackers that can cover tight ends and running backs. Bond equals Madrano. Clear picture. I wouldn't go that far to say, but as we know, in order to compete at a high level, you have to first be able to beat the teams in your division. I think, like I told y'all already, every team in the division went out. Like the Cowboys already had Michael Parsons, but the Giants got Abdul Carter and the Eagles getting Jahad Campbell. Those aren't on accident. The Eagles were desperate to get Jahad Campbell. Why? They needed a guy for Jaden Daniels. Don't kid yourself. That 4th and 13, that 4th and 11, I think it was, excuse me. That 4th and 11 hurt their soul last year. The game was over. That was a soul crusher. He's like, we got that shit can't happen no more. Right? Enter in Jahad Campbell, right? Our defensive woes, specifically against the run, weren't just the Philadelphia Eagles thing, but it was magnified worse against the Eagles than any other team in the league last season. Nobody else did us like the Eagles did us. And the first game, it wasn't bad, and then the fourth quarter happened. And then the seam, we just fell apart at the seams. But it wasn't bad. Right? Saquon did nothing in the first half. Nothing. And in the second half, it really was the fourth quarter. It really was the fourth quarter when the turnovers started happening and, the momentum went to Philadelphia and then boom, the floodgates open. But the second game, he killed us from the word go. There was no Jalen Hurts, and we still couldn't contain him being Saquon Barkley. Until the second half, when we finally just loaded up on the run and said, we're going to force Kenny Pickett to beat us. And then in the third game, obviously we know what happened. Like, that shit was egregious. They had 4th string white boys getting off on us in that game at the end. Like, shit was abysmal. It's tough to watch. You got Shipley coming in and blessing us. Like, shit was nasty. It really was. So, at that point, you had to do something. So, I think that was definitely a reaction to we got to stop the run better. That was ridiculous. But I think Amos's selection was a direct reflection of, hey, we got some dogs in this division. We didn't know George Pickens was going to end up in this bitch. We already knew we had to deal with AJ and Smitty. We saw Malik Neighbors was a problem last year. We don't know what else the Giants are going to do, but Malik Neighbors is a problem, period. And we only saw him once last year. We didn't even see him the second time. The one game we saw him in, he blessed our ass. We're like, okay, he's legit. And now the Cowboys have 2. So that's another one of those, hey, you got to be able to, get it done in the division. The linebacker thing, I'm not sure if that's a direct reflection of the division or trying to build it up like Philly, because we don't even know if Kane Madrano is going to, even have a role on this team yet. We don't know what that looks like. We'll see. That's what we feel like the role is going to be, though, John Wick, is if he is playing, it's to cover, tight ends and backside of the backfield with his athleticism and him being very comfortable in space. So we'll see. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Duncan writes, Jaden, top 32 quarterback. So let me amend this comment for you. Take the 32 out. That's what you meant. Sometimes you get to just typing shit, random shit. So I'll help you. Jaden, top QB. You right. You got it. You're absolutely right. I don't think there's any arguments there. John Week, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. All right. JCM hits the gaps similar to Isaiah Pacheco. He runs hard, man. I don't know if he runs Isaiah Pacheco hard, but he runs hard, man. And, Pacheco was crazy with the 4.3 speed. And Bill, I'm just telling you, the quickness that he plays with is ridiculous. The agility that he has, and more importantly, the contact balance. Like I said, I brought this up earlier because somebody in the comment section of one of the videos was like, are we really talking about a jersey number for a 7th-round pick? This ain't your ordinary 7th-round pick. This ain't John Legend. He ain't ordinary, people. He ain't an ordinary 7th-round pick. So I'm not trying to take it slow. I ain't trying to take it slow with Bill. I'm in the fast lane with him because I'm accelerating him to the starting lineup as soon as possible. Again, B-Rob is your starting running back. Until otherwise notified, he's your starting running back, and they're going to work Bill in to the mix. But eventually, I think at some point this season, Bill's going to be your starting running back. And he's going to prove why he was one of the steals, the biggest steals of the 2025 NFL draft. Eddie Behringer, my guy, Eddie B. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Eddie B. writes, Lou, Eddie B. So happy with our draft. I just can't wait to see the new running back in pads. Seeing his highlights got me locked in. He's different, man. Like, I told y'all this was a deep draft at running back. How deep? I mean, we saw almost, I think the number was 25 running backs get drafted. Or 18, I think it was. I think there was still more receivers, 25, I mean, you can have 5 receivers on the field at once. So naturally, you're going to have more receivers taken every year in the draft. But to have that many running backs taken, I think the number ended up being like 18 or 22, one of the two. There were still more receivers taken, but again, that's to be expected. Same with corners, right? But to have that many running backs taken and to have it be start to finish, Jakori Merritt was one of the final backs taken in this draft. And to still have that kind of value left at the end of the draft is insane. And you can't tell me that we didn't get one of the best 10 backs in this year's draft class. You can't tell me that. I ain't trying to hear it. And I think he's going to ultimately prove that he's one of the best backs in this entire draft class when we look back on this thing 3-4 years down the road. He is going to be fun to watch. This preseason is going to be fun because we got a lot of young guys that are going to play in these preseason games. Like Jaden, I don't think is playing in the preseason this year because we're doing the whole we may have 2 or 3 joint practices this year. We already know that the Patriots want to do a joint practice with us. They want to do one with the Ravens. So And I think we playing the Dolphins in the preseason, even though we still have them on the schedule in Madrid potentially. I think we still doing one with them. So I know at least 2 of those teams want joint practices, and so do we. So I just don't see Jayden playing in the preseason this year. They're going to get their work in the joint practices, and we're going to see a lot. And I don't really see Mariota playing a bunch. I think you're going to see a ton of Sam Hartman and some Josh Johnson. You're going to see a ton of those 2 quarterbacks in the preseason. And you're going to see a lot of Jakori Merritt and, some of these receivers, some of the veterans too, right? But you can see a lot of these, a lot of the young guys getting out there running around. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun watching this preseason because there's a lot of young guys. You're going to see a lot of Kane Madrano. You're going to see a lot of Dominique Hampton. He's going to play a ton this year in the preseason. Tyler Owens is going to play a bunch. So I believe it's going to be a fun, preseason. I think you're going to see some of these UDFAs like Fentrell, Cypress the third. I can't wait to watch him. I think he's got a shot. You're going to see a lot of Robert McDaniel, the safety from Jackson State. Like, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun, a really fun preseason because there are a lot of names of guys that they have intrigue surrounding their name where you're like, I want to see what this guy's made of. Some of these guys won't make the team, but they'll be on the practice squad. Others have a shot at making the squad, may not still make it, but they have a shot. And then other dudes are going to be on this roster, and you just want to see what they look like Jaylen Lane, for instance. He's going to play in the preseason. He's going to get some run. I want to see what it looks like, right? We all do. Josh Collins is going to get some run in the preseason. Trey Amos is going to get some run in the preseason. How much? Can't say. But he'll be out there a little bit. Those draft picks, more likely than not, will be out there a little bit. Maybe not Connerly. They may just leave him with the first string offense, but offensive line is going to get some work. You might not see Jaden Daniels, but you'll see the first string offensive line get at least a series or 2 in the preseason. So you're going to see Connerly. You're going to see Amos, right? You're going to see a lot of Jaylen Lane, I believe. You're going to see a ton of Kane Madrano, and you're going to see a lot of Bill, too. So it's going to be fun. Bart Scott. Can't wait. Wilfredo Elias, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Wilfredo writes, if we are getting an international game, I will be happy. It's technically an away game that doesn't take away home field advantage. Hashtag JD5. Facts, right? This is not a Commanders home game. It's a Dolphins home game. So it doesn't matter to us. We're not losing a home game behind this. And again, I'm telling you, it's another opportunity for the league to put JD5 on display. So I'm with it. I'm with it. It just means I'm gonna have to get up early on one of these Saturday mornings that I might have been able to sleep in on Jacksonville and Atlanta. Now you gotta get your ass up and watch the game, right? And only thing I don't like about it is if you play in that slot, I'm going to be live after the game, so I'm going to probably be missing most of the 1 o'clock games. But I'll be able to watch all of the 4 o'clock games because I'll be done. Probably about the back end of the 1 o'clock games. But we're going to be live as soon as that game's over with, breaking it down, and we'll probably be live for 2-3 hours afterwards. So, and you know what? I'm going to make a bold prediction. When is week 11? See, I don't know when week 11 is, but when does the season start? Let me see. If I can tell you when the season starts. Damn. Did y'all see JOK out for the season? So much for, man, we missed on JOK. He might be dealing with injuries the rest of his career. It's crazy. That's the second player that we've seen be placed on the PUP list before you get to camp, which means they're out for the entire season. Jonathan Brooks, the running back that the Panthers drafted out of Texas, got placed on the PUP list. He's out for the entire season, which makes sense because he had injured the same ACL 2 years in a row. He probably just needs to sit down, fully recover, not rush back, and just get healthy. But damn, JOK, that's crazy. I was looking forward to seeing him come back because it felt like the defense wasn't the same once he got hurt. But clearly, that is not happening. I don't even remember what the hell I was supposed to be looking up. Oh, when did the season start? I got sidetracked by that news. Yikes. Shout out to JOK, man. All right. Let's see. So the season starts September 4th. So now I'm gonna look at my calendar. We're gonna try to predict when week 11 is. We shouldn't have to predict it. We should be able to tell when week 11 is. So if the season starts that means week 1 is Sunday, September 7th. So 14th is week 2, 21st, week 3, 28th, week 4. October 5th is week 5. 12th is week 6. 19th is week 7. 26th is week 8. November 2nd is week 9. The 9th is week 10. So Sunday, November 16th, we will be in Madrid against the Miami Dolphins, right? Assuming it's a Sunday game, which it should be. Sunday morning game. The following week is Thanksgiving. So I think we will be off week 12. That's my prediction. Our bye week will be week 12. So it'll still be a late bye. But because nobody's off the week of Thanksgiving, which is, I think, week 13 was, because now that they extended the season out to 18 games, I think the Thanksgiving game used to be week 12 every year. Nobody had week 12 off. Now I think Thanksgiving, and it just depends on when that Thursday is, right? What Thanksgiving Thursday is, because it's always the last Thursday in November. This year, it's the very last Thursday is the 27th, which is deep in the month. I think last year was like the 23rd, because November's, so it couldn't have been the 23rd. It was like the 24th, because November's 30 days, not 31. So it was a little bit earlier last year. So week 13 is going to be the Thanksgiving week. Nobody gets a bye week the Thanksgiving week. Nobody gets a bye week. So last year, I think, let me think. I think last year, week 14 was our bye week. That was the final week because everybody plays in week 13 for Thanksgiving. Then the last round of byes happened in week 14. We were a part of that because we came off the bye in week 15 against New Orleans. The Eagles were week 16. The Falcons were week 17. The Cowboys were week 18. That's how we ended our season. So we're going to be off week 12. Book it. Coming off of the Spain trip, both the Dolphins and the Commanders will have week 12 byes going all the way to Madrid. First ever game there. A lot of travel. They're not going to ask those teams to play the week after. We're going to have a week 12 bye, folks. Book it. You go to Madrid in week 11, you're off week 12. So, because I had to make sure that next week, because week 11 is close to Thanksgiving, that next week wasn't Thanksgiving. Nobody gets Thanksgiving week off. But that next week is the 23rd. You can get that off. And then that following Thursday is the 27th is Thanksgiving. So that 30th game, everybody plays that weekend. Which, you know what? And that makes a lot of sense, right? If we're going to play Dallas on Thanksgiving, we come off the bye, and then you get a quick turnaround. Watch this. I'm gonna drop a gem on you, Melon. No, they usually reserve that for Dallas. We're not getting that treatment. Dallas is getting that treatment. We don't get that treatment. Dallas usually plays Thanksgiving, and then they play the following Thursday, right? We're going to come off our bye, and we're going to play Dallas on a short week on Thanksgiving. So week 11, trip to Madrid. Week 12, bye. 13, short week. But you're coming off a bye, so you're fine. Dallas, Thanksgiving. Then the next, so you're going to have another mini bye because you're going to play on Thanksgiving. Then you got 10 days off to your next game, unless they start throwing like little Saturday wrenches. Because you know what? That's it. I figured it out. Walk with me for a second. We'll talk more about this tomorrow as we predict stuff. But I figured out how this little stretch is going to go. Week 11, Madrid, Dolphins. Bye week, week 12. Come off the bye, short turnaround, Thanksgiving. Instead of having that 10-day break because you just had a bye, they're going to schedule us for Black Friday. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? What do you think about that? It makes sense. We'll talk more about it. I'll develop that a little bit more for tomorrow night's stream. Now you took me down a rabbit hole because I'm starting to see where the dominoes, starting to fit them into place like Tetris. Oh. Week 11, bye week 12, Cowboys on Thanksgiving week 13, 14, Black Friday. Huh? Feels realistic. Feels realistic. But to your point, Wilfredo, we're not losing a home game, so I'm down for the cause. C Trill. Been a member for 17 months. Who writes, another year with 5 picks next year. Something got to shake. I could see them moving back next year. I could see them picking up some picks. I could see them trading somebody in season, picking up some picks. I could see them trading somebody. Like, remember, we've had a trade. We had a trade. So we only had one off season, in the summer. Last year, we had a trade last year. Jahan Dotson. They got to camp and they moved Jahan Dotson. Like, don't be surprised if somebody gets moved during camp and they pick up some draft picks. We were very active in the trade market the last 2 years. Going back to the year before they got here with Montez Sweat and Chase Young. Last year with Jahan Dotson, and then trading for Laramie Tunzel. In season, trading for Marshawn Lattimore, and then off season, trading for Deebo Samuel, trading for Laramie Tunzel. We've been very active in the trade market, more active than we've seen this club be in the last 20 years, right? We've really never been this active in the trade market. We've been very active since AP has gotten here. Don't be surprised if they're still active this summer. They get there, they like what they see at certain positions. They got a guy. Oh, don't forget John Ridgeway. They traded him too, right? So we traded 2 guys last offseason. Don't be shocked if they trade another guy. They're going to pick up some more draft picks is what I'm telling you. Now, I don't know if you can make up for a 2 and a 4. All right. I don't know if we're trading away a guy that's going to net you that, but they're going to pick up some more picks, I think. Don't be surprised. That's all I'm saying. But I feel you. Yeah, you can't have 5 draft picks every year. And I don't think they intend to. Door Gunner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, my guy. Door Gunner writes, Lou always has excuses like I have jokes. I hear your jokes. Okay. Might have to go back to Spain to go to the game. If the opener in Atlanta, I might have to make the drive up. I think we got 1 or 2 choices for Sunday night. If we're home, it's the Bears. If we're on the road, it's Atlanta. But we're on Sunday night, nonetheless. Okay. The JD Cinco, the Jaden Daniels effect starts week 1. I am convinced of it. It's either Sunday night or Monday night. But I feel like it's Sunday night. They moved the Cowboys out of the equation to insert another NFC East team. And then maybe the Chiefs can have Monday night or something, right? Somebody else can have Monday night. The Bills can have Monday night because the Bills have been on Monday night, it feels like, for the last 3 years. Well, I lied. The Jets have been on Monday night the last 2 years, I believe. I think they had the 49ers last year, and the year before that, they had the Bills when Aaron Rodgers tore his ACL. So the Jets have had Monday night the last 2 nights, last 2 years, rather. So we'll see what they decide to do there. But as far as I'm concerned, they've opened up the Sunday night slot for us by taking Dallas, because they don't want to take Dallas off primetime week 1 because they're such a money team from a rating standpoint. They're an attraction. They're a draw. You put Dallas on, you're going to get eyeballs. Whether you love them, you hate them. No one's indifferent about Dallas. You either love them or you hate them. And if you're not a Cowboys fan and you hate them and you want to see them lose, Philadelphia's establishing a rep of a team that you hate. They're becoming a villain themselves. And so that's a great matchup to kick off the season with. And I figured they were going to save us and the Eagles. Didn't feel like we were a threat to be there because you can put us on against the Eagles at any time. And that's going to be big theater. Big theater. Even though the last time we saw them, I really believe if the game was closer in the NFC Championship game, they would have put us on as a rematch. But we got our ass whooped. We can save that because that's still going to be must-see TV when we put it on. Still going to be must-see TV. You're better off putting Dallas on because you don't know if Dak Prescott is going to be healthy if you try to save Dallas, Philadelphia for week 7 or week 10 or week 12. You don't know if Dak Prescott is going to be healthy. By the time you get there and shit, they don't even have Cooper Rush no more, so Dallas could be a non-factor by the time you get to week 9 or 10, especially if Dak's not healthy. So instead of waiting, put that shit on now where you know you're going to get Dak Prescott week 1, at least. If that game in Spain is legit, which I think it is, I think we all feel that way by now. I think we're going to have more fans there than the Dolphins are. I think so. This fan base is back. Not to where that we were, when we were the Redskins, but the juice around the team is back. The energy around the team is back. Barrett Downing, been a member for 44 months. Salute to my guy, Barrett Downing. BD writes, after cuts, I think we get more stuff. Respect, Lou. We'll see. We didn't really pick off anybody's scrap heap last year. I was surprised. We didn't really. Noah Brown was the only thing that really shook free that we didn't expect that we pounced on last year. But the roster pretty much remained intact. We kept all of the guys that we had, and then we brought in Noah Brown. So we'll see if anything shakes free. But what the trend in the NFL now is with them expanding these rosters to 90 and letting them rock for the entire preseason and pretty much all of training camp and all of the preseason, rather, is that teams get longer amounts of time with prospects, with prospective players who are on the outside, on the fringes of the roster, and they become attached to those players. So much so that I'd rather continue to work with this guy than go out on the street and go pick up a guy that got released from another team. Your roster's got to be in pretty rough shape for you to be sniffing around other teams, trash heap. It's got to be a guy you really, really like or didn't expect to be there. So unless that happens, I don't really see us, shopping around too often. It's got to be somebody that shakes free that they didn't expect. We'll see. John Week, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, John Week, writes, Lou, respectfully, how the F did Ron draft Jamin Davis in the first round? We on to newer things, I know. They just set us back a lot with their drafts, man. Yeah, no. I mean, we talked about it. It wasn't just the first round picks, but they killed us in the first round, right? It wasn't just the first rounders, but Jamin Davis in the first round, Jahan Dotson in the first round. Obviously, we had a guy here for a year, roughly, in Emmanuel Forbes in the first round. Like, you can't miss on first round picks the way that they did. And then, they were equally as bad in the second round, but that wasn't just them. That spans all the way back to the Vinny Serrato, Dan Snyder days about just whiffing on second round picks. We have been awful in the second round for a very long time. And we hoped that the curse was lifted last year when we got rid of all the bad juju, got the new regime in here, and had 3 second-round picks. And we'll see how they all turn out. But right now, we feel like that's the draft that's going to put that second-round curse behind us. If Johnny Newton, all we need is 2 out of the 3 to be good, and you'll feel great about that second round. Mike Sainristil is already good. We already feel great about him. Johnny Newton is the one that you like, hey, like Ben sent it to, but that's to a lesser degree for me. We spent like a fringe first round pick on Johnny Newton. I think he was 36th overall. I need Johnny Newton to be dynamic, right? I need him to be a guy that you you look at it and say he needs an extension here. Like he needs a second contract here. Not many second round picks have gotten second contracts here in Washington. Sam Cosmi is the only one that I can think of over the last 15 years, maybe. I mean, think about the last second round pick that got a second contract here. Our second rounds are full of Fedarian Mathises and Darius Geises and Sua Cravens and Ryan Anderson. Like, that's second round for us. It ain't shit there. That's how your roster stays bad. It's one thing to miss on a third round pick like they did with the offensive lineman they took, Ricky Stromberg, right? It's okay. I mean, day twos, it's just tough for me to digest missing on a day two guy because they're just as important as day one guys. But okay, it's okay to miss on a third round pick. Those happen. Anything day three, all bets are off, right? You got to hit on the first and second rounders, though. And you're not going to hit on every one of them, but you can't miss on every one of them, too. And that's what they basically did. They missed on Chase Young. They missed on John Dotson. They missed on Emmanuel Forbes. They missed on Jamin Davis. You can't miss on all of these first-round picks. Montez Sweat ain't here no more, right? Which, that's debatable. He could have still been here, but he wasn't dynamic. He stopped the run, though. We wouldn't have had these run-stopping issues that we had last year if he was here because he stops the damn run, but you can't miss the way we've missed in the first two rounds. Cosmi is the only guy here. You could even extend that out to the third round. Where the third round picks at? Diami gone, right? Ricky Stromberg's gone. Who else did we draft in the third round? A lot of those dudes ain't here no more. Terry was the most successful third round pick, probably. I don't want to say in franchise history because I don't want to disrespect guys that were drafted yesteryear that might have been, future Hall of Famers or whatnot. But of recent note, Terry is, right? 2019, that third round pick. Unforgettable in every way. But outside of that, what have we done in the third round, right? Ain't really shit to show for the third round either. So it's been bad. Really, really bad. Well, hopefully that's all over now. So, yeah, they definitely set us back a good bit. But like you said, we're on to bigger and better things. John Week, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Oh, shit. Somebody said, oh, man, I'm tripping. Black Friday is after Thanksgiving, isn't it? Not the following week. There you go. I was jumping the gun. I went too far ahead. Black Friday is literally the day after Thanksgiving. We're not playing the next day. I got too excited. You're absolutely right. We are definitely not playing on Thanksgiving and the next day, right? Clearly, that's not happening. So if we're not playing on Thanksgiving, I think we're playing on Black Friday. But I think we're playing on Thanksgiving against Dallas. So then we would get 10 days off between our next game, Thursday, and then we wouldn't play until the next Sunday, right? Because Black Friday is not the next Friday. It's the next day. The Cowboys always play on Thanksgiving, and then they play the following Thursday as well. They seem to have locked up that thing where they play Thursday on Thanksgiving, and then the next Thursday they play again, and then they get the 10-day thing, and then they play on that following Sunday, right? Not the next Sunday coming up, but the one after that. So we'll have a lot of time if the schedule breaks that way for us. We will have a lot of time to kind of recharge the battery. If we get to week 11, we haven't had our bye, then you get the week 12 bye, then you get the quick turnaround in week 13 for Thanksgiving, but then you get 10 more days off between that game because you'll be refreshed for that Thanksgiving game, and then you'll get another break, right? So to almost act like how last year was for us when we had the week 14 bye, right? So that'll be really good. I wouldn't be opposed to that if the schedule broke that way, but yeah. My bad on the I got too excited on the Black Friday thing. I thought I was really like, oh yeah, I figured it out. No, dude. Black Friday is the day after Thanksgiving. You're not playing the next day too. So this isn't baseball. Oh, silly Louie T. Yeah. John Week. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I'm 75% sure we're playing Dallas on Thanksgiving. I'm 90% sure we playing those bastards on Thanksgiving. I want no parts of that shit, by the way, but I'm 90% sure. Again, if this is about Jayden Daniels, which I've already told you, this is a campaign to make him the face of the NFC. We're playing Dallas on Thanksgiving. Every opportunity you get to expose him to a national audience that otherwise would not have seen him, you're going to do it. That's why Sunday Night Football Week 1 is happening, because that's a big one. That's the first game of the season for everybody. Everybody's locked in. You're going to put him on there, right? Christmas Day, you got nothing else going on. You open your gifts early that morning, football on, whether that's a night game, a midday game, early game, whatever. You're getting Mahomes and you're getting Daniels. That's a primetime game. CBS probably is fighting their guts out trying to save that one for them. They're probably going to lose that battle. That game's going to Christmas on Netflix, more likely than not. Another chance to expose him to an audience that wouldn't otherwise see him. Thanksgiving, you're going to do it again, because that's been, the timeless tradition. Anytime that these two teams seem like they have a chance to be good, we're throwing Washington and Dallas. It's a tradition that's an unofficial tradition. They're going to run it back here because, again, another opportunity for Jayden Daniels to be in the national spotlight. Whether the Cowboys are good or not, people are going to watch that game. And, again, they want to showcase Jayden Daniels, and that's another way to do it. And then you're going to get the game in Madrid. Not everybody will watch that one. That's a little bit different, right? That's not in a primetime slot necessarily. It's early morning. You're not going to get as many eyeballs on that one. But, again, it's diversifying. Like, that's another audience you're tapping into, an international one at that. And if you're going to make him one of the faces of the league, you want to have his face be known internationally as well. So that's another opportunity to do that. So, again, you see where I'm going with that. So you say 75, I say 90% that we get the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. That feels like a done deal at this point. Cody Seibert, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Cody Seibert writes, playing the Bears first game and busting them up. That, again, I'm 50-50 on the first game of the season. And only reason I'm 50-50 is because there's a home game that they could put there that would make sense. There's a road one that they could put there and make sense. There are plenty of options, right? They could run back the Lions in week 1 and have that be our Sunday night opponent. I wouldn't. But again, I feel like that is similar to our game against. Now, I will say the game against the Lions was way more entertaining. That first half was crazy. Pure craziness, the back and forth there. It was one of the most entertaining first halves these eyes have ever seen. 52 total points, 31 scored by us, a pick 6 in there, a bunch of big plays. The Jameson Williams reverse after we thought we had him on the ropes with no Jared Goff on the field. Just so much back and forth in that first half. The Terry explosive play was just crazy. So many fireworks. And then the second half, we kind of dominated the second half. But, they were still hanging around, right? It got to 31-28, and we're like, oh, shit. But, we were able to make the plays and kind of separate ourselves in the second half and go away, winning that game going away, right? That feels like a later on in the season type of deal. This feels like it's either Bears at home or Falcons on the road, where you pit two young quarterbacks. Again, another opportunity for exposure for some young quarterbacks in the league. Jayden Daniels is already one that's established himself. Caleb Williams is a guy that a lot of people are going to be. They're going to get a lot of primetime games by the Bears this year. The league sees them as another opportunity to really push them forward, right? With Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams and all the things that the Bears have going for them, I think they're going to have at least 4 primetime games, if not 5, right? And I could easily see one of them being, across from Jayden Daniels in week 1. But also, if you want to put the Falcons front and center, right? Because they're going to hitch a lot of teams to our coattails. Like Jayden Daniels and the Commander, like you see it with the Chiefs all the time. Mahomes and the Chiefs are the main attraction, and we'll attach Tampa Bay to their coattails because nobody give a shit about Tampa Bay. Let's be honest, right? Nobody give a shit about Tampa Bay. But if you put them on against the Chiefs and Mahomes, you're going to watch, right? So you're going to hitch a lot of people to our coattails. Atlanta isn't a massive draw, which is why we felt good about Atlanta being a home primetime game in a big spot, because Falcons fans ain't traveling and they ain't coming and taking over our stadium. It's a great opportunity for us to represent and show up. Represent. It's a great opportunity because the Falcons fans ain't showing up and showing out like that. So if you want to give them some spotlight, you can attach them to our wagon, to the Jaden Daniels effect, and give Michael Penix an opportunity to shine again. So I can see either one of those transpiring. We're the centerpiece of this. But I could easily see it being Bears. That's the home one, if you want the Commanders to be at home. And again, that one seems more likely and plausible because, to me, the angle of the rematch and the biggest play from last year in the regular season, it just all feels like too easy of a narrative to push as a big-time Sunday night game with Ben Johnson having his first game. There's so many narratives, so many storylines that you can push. You can even weave in the ass whooping that he took the last time he coached. It was against this team that put him out. Now he's out for revenge. The Bears are looking for revenge on their own because of what happened to them. We practically ended their season last year. And you could spin all of that. And then you could go the 1 versus 2 narrative from last year's drive. This, that, and the third. Like, it's so many narratives wrapped up in that Bears Commanders Week 1 showdown on Sunday night that feels like the game. That feels like the game. So we will see. Door Gunner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Door Gunner writes, got headphones on so dog isn't losing it with your singing. See, you made the adjustment. You're a smart man, Door Gunner. You're a smart man. Because the singing ain't going to stop. You know that. Singing ain't going to stop. Sounds like nails on the chalkboard. LOL. Well, I'm going to keep scratching that chalkboard, man. I'm going to keep scratching that chalkboard. There's no worse sound to me than a metal spoon hitting a glass bowl or a metal fork scratching a glass plate. Ugh. But if my singing sounds anywhere close to that, I apologize. Mistakes were made, but I can't stop. I can't stop. I won't stop. Oh no. So I see comments, people saying we're not getting both Christmas and Thanksgiving. I said that. I said they're not going to do that to us. And Spain, they're not going to do that to us, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. If you said to me, you're not getting both, they're going to put you on one, it's Christmas against the Chiefs. It's Christmas against the Chiefs. They'll spare us the Thanksgiving game, and they'll give us Christmas against Kansas City. That to me is more of a prominent spot because Thanksgiving is the NFL's day. They don't share that with it. They gotta outduel the NBA, which is not hard because it's the NFL. Like, they could put on bullshit, and like the Christmas games last year were all ass blowouts. Chiefs destroyed the Chiefs. Chiefs destroyed the Steelers. Excuse me, not Chiefs destroyed the Chiefs. Chiefs destroyed the Steelers in the first game, and in the nightcap, the Texans were obliterated in their own stadium by the Ravens. Neither one of those games were any good, and they still smoked the NBA games, which the NBA games were actually good. Doesn't matter. NFL is king. So Thanksgiving, they know whatever they put on, we're going to watch. Doesn't matter. Christmas, they got to come with it. On paper, those were supposed to be good games. Chiefs, Steelers was supposed to be a really good game. Texans, Ravens was supposed to be a really good game. It just turned out not to be. But they're trying to put good games on. And they got a triple header this year because it's a Thursday. Christmas ain't Wednesday this year, where you kind of fall back a little bit. It's a natural NFL day, Thursday. So they putting on a triple header. I wouldn't be shocked if the nightcap is Commanders at Chiefs at Arrowhead, 8:30. Thursday night, Christmas night. And they let the Cowboys play somebody else on Thanksgiving. Wouldn't shock me. It doesn't feel like we're getting all of them, but I don't know, man. I told the Kings, we're not getting all of those. They're not giving us all the juicy ones and sending us internationally. The Spain, they're not doing that. I don't know. It doesn't feel like you get all the majors. But again, when I look at the Chiefs and what they do with Mahomes, they got him everywhere, bro. They got Mahomes on Saturday. They got Mahomes on Christmas. They have Mahomes on Black Friday. Like they use up Mahomes. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl last year, and they won it a ton, it feels like, over the last 6 years or so. So they always get that kickoff game. And you're going to get them on Monday night a couple of times, Sunday night a couple of times. But they also throw these boys on major holidays and anytime where it's a big deal. Hey, let's get the Chiefs out there. Let's get Mahomes out there. We know he moves the needle. It could be us. I'm not saying. Now, usually they don't put Mahomes on Christmas, but one of their, divisional rivals don't play every year on Thanksgiving. So it's easy for the Chiefs not to end up on Thanksgiving. It'd be one thing if the Raiders played on the Thanksgiving every year, or the Broncos did, or the Chargers did. Then you can say, okay, we can see how the Chiefs would be on. But we have a team in our division, so it makes it that much more likely that we are on Thanksgiving. So you might not be wrong, but we'll see. C Trill, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. C Trill, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, where would you rank our wide receiver trio in the East? I say 2. So when you say trio, who's the third guy? And if you have to ask who the third player is, how good of a trio do you really have, right? Because obviously it's Terry and Debo. Who's the third wheel? Are you talking about Noah Brown? Are you talking about Jaylen Lane? Are you talking about Luke McCaffrey? We don't even know who our third receiver is right now. To be honest, we don't even know who the third receiver is. Because it could be Jaylen Lane. It could be Luke McCaffrey in year 2. It could be Noah Brown picking up where he left off last year. We have no idea who the third receiver is right now. At least I don't. I can't speak for you. So I can't even tell you who the trio is because we don't even know who the third receiver is. But so if we're just going off of who has played the most, the best, has the statistics, you're probably talking about Noah Brown. Because all the rest of those dudes really haven't been impactful in at least 2 years, right? KJ Osborne wasn't impactful this year. He wasn't impactful for the Patriots at all. He hasn't been impactful since he was a member of the Minnesota Vikings, right? So you got to go back 2 years ago for him. Michael Gallup hasn't been impactful probably for 4 years or so, right? Because they cut him loose because he had a minimal impact this last year as a Cowboy. And then he retired, didn't play for a year. So you got to go back a ways for him. So you got to be talking about, and Luke, young guy, didn't expect much from him in his rookie season, didn't get much from him. We got to see what it looks like this year. So I'm going to go with Noah Brown. Most teams don't have a great number 3. Like right now, Dallas's number 3, I would guess, would be Tolbert, Jalen Tolbert. And I thought he actually had a solid year last year. How many yards? I bet you Tolbert probably had like 600 yards receiving last year. Let's see. I could be wrong about that, but Jalen Tolbert, 610 yards last year. I thought so. That was a breakout year for him, by the way. So, I mean, I put him up there in the same, neighborhood with Noah Brown. The Eagles don't have a third receiver, I don't think, unless they sign somebody under the radar that I'm not aware of. I mean, they got Jahan Dotson. I'm not going to shit on Jahan. They just didn't pick up his 5th-year option. He's still there, so he's solid. And then the Giants, they don't even have a number 2 receiver as of right now, I don't think. Like, not one that we respect. So they're not in this discussion. So it's just between the Eagles, the Cowboys, and us. And the Eagles are 1 because their 1-2 is the best in the division. To me, it is. And then with Jahan, he ain't shit for real, but talent-wise, he's better than Noah Brown and Jalen Tolbert. So, and I think he's had the most receiving yards of any of those dudes in one season. Now, it was his rookie season with us, but I think he had 600 and something in that year. Let me check Jahan's stats. But, I mean, I think Jahan is the out of that group of receivers, he is the best, I think. No, he never had 600 yards. He had 523 in his rookie season, 518 his second year. So he's never had 600. I'm not taking George Pickens over Deebo Samuel for 1 year. Over the long haul, obviously he's younger, super talented. He could evolve into a bigger problem than Deebo. But for this upcoming season, give me Deebo Samuel over George Pickens. So I think our 1-2 is greater than Dallas's 1-2. Even though CeeDee Lamb is an animal and CeeDee Lamb is better than Terry. So, but I still would like say, okay, those two cancel each other out. Even though CeeDee Lamb, I think, is better than Terry. They cancel each other out, and then our 2 is better than their 2. And, you know, I think Tolbert and Noah Brown are very similar. So I give us a nod because I think our 1-2 is better. If the 3s cancel out, the 1-2 better. So I put a second behind them. Dallas is a very, very close third, and then the Giants bring up the rear. That's how I would rank it. So I agree with you, 2. Very close, though. I could, if somebody had an argument, I'd listen to us being 3 behind Dallas. I'd listen. I get it. If they made the CeeDee Lamb argument and then they said Tolbert is better than Noah Brown, I'm listening. I don't necessarily agree with Tolbert being better than Noah Brown, but I can hear the argument and get it. But had Noah Brown stayed healthy, because I'm guessing Tolbert, he might have had an injury last year. I think he got injured against the Steelers, you know, and missed a couple games, maybe 3 games after that. But Noah Brown missed the back end of the season. You know what I'm saying? Like, Noah Brown missed the back end of the season. I think he got hurt against Dallas in week 12 and missed the rest of the games. He was well on his way to 8, 9, possibly 1,000 yards receiving, but 800, 900 yards. But I will also say this. His injury proved to be like there was a silver lining in his injury, and it proved to be a good thing, actually. You know, it's hard to say somebody that was as productive as he was, him getting injured being a good thing, but it honestly forced Jayden to have to throw the other guy because it felt like he was going to Noah Brown as a security blanket a bit too much. I think we were all getting a little bit perturbed by the amount of targets he was getting, especially in critical third down situations where he wasn't looking at Terry, he wasn't looking at Ertz, he was going to Noah Brown and forcing the ball to him, right? Hell, even that Cowboys game that I think he got hurt in, if I'm not mistaken, he got hurt in that Cowboys game, was him forcing it. Like, he had the dude out here doing mime shit. Noah Brown had the dude doing mime shit on our ass. Like, who is this clown? I don't even know his dude's name, and he over here doing shit on our ass because he breaking up passes. Who is this bum? But that's where we were at. And so it was what the phrase I was looking for. It was a blessing in disguise that he got injured because it forced Jayden to have to spread it around now. Other guys got to get involved. We saw an uptick in targets to OZ. We saw an uptick in targets to Terry. We saw an uptick in targets to Zach Ertz. We saw other guys getting involved in the offense. He started using the backside of the backfield a little bit more. It forced him to me to be a better quarterback because he was relying on Noah Brown like he was some sort of number 1 receiver or some shit. Like we had dual number 1s, like he was Mike Evans. No, that's Noah Brown, bro. So and then it allowed De'Ami Brown to step up. Now we had another vertical threat opposite of Terry, which was very important the back end of the season. So it ended up being a blessing in disguise. But if he would have played the rest of the season, Noah Brown would have ended up with 800, 900 yards. He would have set a career high. He was on pace for that. So I take Noah Brown over Jalen Tolbert, but yeah, that's just me. Josh Gates, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Josh Gates, right? Sup, Lou? 2 days until Reckless Prediction Wednesday. I'm going to be here for all of it. I have a good record in mind that everyone will like, but I'll save it for Wednesday. Sounds good to me. I'm here for all of it. You're gonna get some 15 and 2s out of this fan base. We're gonna be insufferable. There'll be some 16 and 1s. There'll be some people that say 17 and 0. We always dismiss those people though. They're crazy, but they're gonna be dead ass. But no, we dismiss those people. But you're going to have some people legitimately trying to predict. Do you know how hard our schedule is? Ain't no way this team is finishing any better. And everything has to go right. And we have to be a machine, a well-oiled machine for us to go 14 and 3. That's as good as it gets. I personally think the best that we can do is 13 and 4. But I think we're going to be somewhere in that 11 and 6, 12 and 5 range, which is good for a playoff spot. I don't know if that's good enough to win the division or not, but I got to see the schedule. I can't make a prediction without seeing the schedule, but I'm just telling you that the only reason the NFC North did what they did last year is the same shit that we did back in 2022 when we had 3 teams, should have been 4 because we should have made the playoffs too, but we self-destructed and collapsed at the end of the season, is they played a weak schedule. When you play the AFC South, that's the ticket. If you play the AFC South and the NFC South in the same season, which I think trying to think. I don't think the Lions played the Bucks, the Falcons, and the Panthers this year. They played them the year before, I think. But if you play the AFC South, you got to sweep them. If you're serious about your business. So you sweep them, and then if you get it's really no dominant NFC divisions that you really got to concern yourself with. I think they played the NFC West this past year. I know they did because they played the Cardinals, they played the Rams, they played the Seahawks, and they played the 49ers late in the season. So, and that turned out to be a down division this year. Like the 49ers weren't their normal selves. The Seahawks were kind of inconsistent, and the Rams were inconsistent for much of the year. And then obviously the Cardinals started out solidly, but they weren't very good. Like they didn't finish the season up strong. So that wasn't a great division anyway. And that's how they were able to win 15 games. Clean up in your own division, play a weak AFC South division. That's what we did in 2022. That's why 3 teams in the division made it. That ain't what we doing this year. Win percentage wise, just based off the teams that we have to play. I've seen someone on social media already kind of hammer out what the win percentage is for the NFC teams. We got the highest strength of schedule, the strongest strength of schedule of any division this year. The NFC East does. Like we're playing teams with a combined win percentage of over 63%, I think. The next closest team is 54%. So it's a tough schedule this year, right? It's a tough schedule. You're playing the Chargers, you're playing the Broncos, you're playing the Chiefs, right? The Raiders are revamped. That's tough. You're playing that same division we just talked about, the Vikings. Wait, is it the Falcons? No, it's Bears, Vikings, Packers, Lions. You're playing that division. That's a tough division. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year, but it's still a good division. And we saw the win percentages of that division last year. And they got 3 teams into the postseason last year. So, again, I don't know how ridiculous people are going to go. I know they're going to be extreme, but just know that this schedule ain't no joke. Just know that this schedule ain't going to be no joke. There won't be any Tennessee Titans for us to get our shit off on when we start struggling, like to stop a slide. That doesn't exist this year for us. So you got to hope we don't hit one of those rough patches and be like, man, I'm glad there's a Tennessee or New Orleans. Shit, we needed this. That shit doesn't exist this year. At least I don't think. We say that now, we get into the season, and then one of these teams that we think is going to be good, like Minnesota, for instance, I don't think they're going to turn out to be ass, but their quarterback situation is different, right? Because they're going to start essentially, for all intents and purposes, a rookie and JJ McCarthy. It'll be his first season starting. It could go sideways on them. We expect them to be good. Maybe they're not as good this year. There could be one of those teams in there, but we'll see. But yeah, it'll be fun. No doubt, Josh. It'll definitely be fun. Door Gunner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Door Gunner. Right. They play your singing in PWO camp at Air Force Survivor School to torture us. They also serve pineapple and cheeseless pizza, LOL. That would be a delectable treat for you guys. Okay. That would not be considered torture. That would be considered a delectable treat. My singing might be torturous. Might be. Depends on what day you catch me, what I'm singing. Try to hit a note I can't know. I know damn well I don't have no business trying to hit. You can catch me on the right day. Yeah, it could be pretty bad. But what we're not going to do is drag my cheeseless pineapple and mushroom pizza into this. They ain't got nothing to do with this. So leave them out of this, okay? You want to attack me? That's fine. I can take it. I'm a man. Leave my pizza out of this, though. They ain't done nothing to nobody. They ain't got nothing to do with this, okay? Josh Gates, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, by the way, I know there's no milk policy, LOL, but what would be the appropriate drink for this scheduled release occasion? That's a good question, man. I'm gonna have a smoothie. I'm not bringing any alcoholic beverages to this function. I'm actually dry right now. Me and my wife are dry. We're taking a little break because you gotta do that sometimes, right? So we're dry right now. So I'll have a smoothie. I may have a few, snacks like some cashews and some almonds. I don't want to be ASMR in y'all, right? But I may be snacking a little bit. But it's a long marathon of a day that we putting forth on Wednesday. So I would advise you to bring something. Bring something. No milk, as you already, laid out beautifully. No milk. Although I am starting to relax my policy on no milk to no white milk. Chocolate milk, strawberry milk, if people still drink that. That's another conversation for another day, because, man, my mom and dad used to Nesquik our ass to death when I was a little kid. You ever had banana milk before? That's a podcast conversation, not a command post conversation. But I'll be having a smoothie. I can't speak for what anybody else is bringing, but I would implore you to bring some sort of a refreshment. It's going to be a long day on Wednesday. Long day. Josh Gates, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Josh. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, that's crazy, Lou, because 13-4 was the record I had. To me, that's as high as it should go. Like, if you want me to still respect your prediction and even give it credence, and I'm not telling you that 14-3 is impossible. It's highly unlikely with the schedule we're playing. You're going to slip up more than 3 times. Just in the division alone, you're going to get got once or twice. Just in the division alone. So you telling me you're going to sweep just about everybody else? It ain't happening, bro. It ain't happening. It's a couple of games on the schedule where you look at it and say, like, at Kansas City, at Arrowhead, that's a tough task. It's not impossible. After watching the Chiefs last year, they haven't gotten better in the last 3 years. The Chiefs have gotten worse offensively each of the last 2 years, but the defense has been the rock of that team. They haven't gotten better offensively, but they're going to get some shit back that they lost last year. They're going to get a healthy Isaiah Pacheco back this year because he was not healthy last year. They're going to get Rashee Rice back this year, not to mention that they already added yet another receiver, which I'm like, y'all got to stop letting them add these type of dogs at the receiver position. And you're getting year 2 of Xavier Worthy. They got stuff at receiver. This is the most loaded Mahomes has been at the receiver position. And he still got Travis Kelce coming back. And they drafted a beast tight end last year that I think is going to continue to develop in year 2 that didn't get a lot of play last year. This is the most talent Mahomes has had around him since probably his second year of Samuel Watkins and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, a younger Travis Kelce. They were loaded back in the day. So you're going to slip up somewhere along the way, a couple times at a bare minimum. Plus, you're going to slip up in the division. So to me, 14-3 is unrealistic. It's a reach. You can sell me on it. I'm listening, but it's a reach. I'm not really trying to hear that. 13-4, I'm listening. I still think that's tough with the schedule that's going to be presented to us. But I'm listening. I'm open to it because I could see it. But it feels like 12-5 again, 11-6 is probably more along the lines of where I'll sit when it's all said and done. But you never know. You see the schedule, like, no, this is doable. Remember, I told y'all last year, I was like, I don't know. This is a doable schedule. And it'll be real doable for sure. We might get a murderer's row schedule, though. And with us playing all of these non-1 o'clock games, shit could get really rough on these guys' bodies, and who knows, right? So, anyway, we'll see. I digress. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, on this Monday stream. I knew it was going to be long. I did not expect it to be 3 hours long, but I knew it was going to be long. But it was a lot to talk about, a lot from the weekend that just passed, a lot coming up down the pipeline. We already had the Cowboys, Eagles opening day game announcement today. So they'll be kicking off the season on Thursday, September the 4th, I believe. And that will kick off the season. We'll go from there. And I think that's going to be the kickoff date. Yep. Thursday, September the 4th will be the opening kickoff day. Cowboys, Eagles. That should be a ton of fun. And we'll find out more tomorrow. We'll find out a lot of the international games tomorrow. And I fully expect us to be a part of that. Madrid, week 11, Dolphins. Feels like almost a guarantee at this point. And then Wednesday, when things start to come out, we're going to be live for most of it, if not all of it, till till 8 o'clock when everything drops. And we're going to give you 30 minutes to really digest it. And then the Kings and myself, along with the rest of the Kings, are going to mount up. And that's going to be a hell of a stream. So much to digest in that moment. And so that's going to be a fun stream. I can't wait. Bart Scott can't wait. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this stream. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys later on tonight for the Super Friends stream. That should be a ton of fun tonight. Haven't seen the fellas since the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I think we had one more after that, and then that was it, I think. I'm not sure if we even did a stream after that. So lot has happened since the last time the Super Friends have gotten together. So that'll be a fun show tonight. Commanders Kings live Wednesday night. I'm going to be live pretty much all Wednesday with the schedule release as bits and pieces come out. So I'll see you for that. And then Tuesday night, I'll be live. I'm going to give you some predictions for the schedule from myself on Tuesday night. And among other things, Commanders related. So that's the schedule. Should be a ton of fun. Looking forward to it. But until next time, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. You guys have a good one. Take care. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. God bless. Good night.